when they do Ingles. I can't. Why does it say end stream? Because the stream just started, but I'm not muted, which means they heard everything I said, which is, behind the scenes, scheduling stuff. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I got to go back and do that too. There was one or two really good ones in there. We're going to beat the stuff out of them. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the Ryan Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. How do you do, upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. Welcome in, world. It is official. I can confirm. After scientific research done yesterday afternoon, No. First off, twofold. Number one, it's not about the Braves because I told you, I don't care. As I think when Phil Collins had said, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore.
I believe that was Phil Collins who said that, yes.
I believe it was Phil Collins who said, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore.
For you kids who don't know who Phil Collins are.
He wrote all the songs for Tarzan. Actually, if you know that, you're also not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
I take that back.
I mean, come on, dude.
You're old enough that if you know the Tarzan soundtrack and how absolutely and unnecessarily fire it was, you're an old. Welcome. I don't care. I'm not that. That's not the correct panic sounder. That's not the right one. I have the right one. That one is you making fun of me for unnecessarily for the way that I do words, which I am used to.
I at least I know where mine is. So, I mean.
I know exactly where mine is.
You got like 1,000 in there and you don't. There we go. All right.
It's that one. But I'm not pushing it because I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I finished the show last night. I sat in on BetMGM tonight last night alongside Ryan Horvath. Had a fantastic time. Ryan spent all night going, I don't know, Rob. I don't know. I'm putting some money on the Braves. Plus 110, Rob. They can get a win tonight. Everybody's got to win a few. Everybody's going to lose a few tonight's tonight. It wasn't 3-1. The Braves lose. They're 0-6. I don't care anymore. The research that I have done, and then I can now say is definitively true. Great one is that it is pollen and allergy season, baby.
Yeah, driving through the cow pastures and seeing all that purple stuff hanging off trees, it's like, yeah, I'm going to be dying here soon. It hasn't hit me entirely yet, but I can feel it coming.
I made the
in
joke
the air tonight.
I made the joke. Well, there's a game we didn't want to start, but we just did. I bought a blue car, and the nice thing is I've made the joke for many years that, arguing about whether Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame or arguing about this or arguing about that is the equivalent of making the argument of what color, Lamborghini we should get. Like, at the end of the day, we all have ideas and we all know what we like and don't like and think is best and isn't best. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because no matter how hard we fight, we will not go against all odds. We can't afford a Lamborghini. So arguing what color the Lamborghini should be is kind of a pointless exercise, right? Here's the thing.
Listen,
I now know my Lamborghini's not going to be.
Follow me. I just wanted to say that if you can afford one Lamborghini, you could probably afford 5, and you can have a bunch of different colors. I know that goes against what you were saying, but
and listen, I'm in the world of radio. I'm on my way. I do know that my Lamborghini will not be yellow because my blue car is currently yellow, and it's not my bag. I always thought I'd like a yellow car, but my car's currently yellow and not my thing.
Do you think it shows up on gold?
Do I think it shows up on gold?
No, do you think pollen shows up on gold? I mean, do you think if you drive in a gold-colored car, do you see the pollen?
I don't know is the answer. I do know it shows up on blue. Mike, actually, Lonzo, you would hate it because my blue car has a thin coating of maize across it.
Yeah, that's
my car is legitimately Michigan colors right now.
You might as well move to Detroit and do radio there.
No, I'm gonna go back to Destin. Go home by the sea. That's another Phil Collins.
Okay, that one I didn't get. So, but I figured it was.
That's actually a Genesis song, but I'm going to count it. I'm going to say that's allowed for right now.
As long as it wasn't Peter Gabriel singing.
And I'm going to say Genesis songs are allowed because I said that song title and I looked over at Lonzo and he looked like he was in a land of confusion. So I wanted to clarify that.
I'm bowing out. I was a Genesis fan probably before you were born, but I can't compete.
Is it because we have separate lives? Is that why?
So if we talk about references that people won't get, young people won't get, you've just said like 15 of them. I guess when you're on a roll, you just keep going.
I mean, listen. We started talking about Phil Collins. I don't know why. He showed up in my Instagram a couple of times. In fact, I was scrolling around last night, and there was a video of him on stage performing a song. And I remembered how much I loved Phil Collins. I was like, oh, man. No matter what, Phil, you'll be on my heart. That's from the Tarzan soundtrack, so that's where I'm ending the game. I feel like we did a good job here.
It's in your head now. So, I mean, and there's so many. If his wife never messed around on him, we never would have had so many good songs.
Yeah,
it's tragedy, but still.
It was tough on Phil. She was not an easy lover.
No, actually, she was. That was the problem.
All right. I'm glad you put that JK on the end of who is Genesis there, Kane, because otherwise you were going to get a full lesson. You were going to get a full history lesson there for just a minute.
We're dropping captains right and left, Kane. You got to be careful around here.
I was going to say, you need to know who Genesis is? I'm going to give you the lesson. Just, follow me, and I'll get you there. It's actually follow you, follow me. So that
reference I already used. So I mean,
did you?
Yeah, I did.
All right, we've ended the game.
You forgot like 3 minutes ago already.
Do you understand how hard I'm going through my brain to come up with as many Phil Collins songs off the top of the dome as I can? It's tough, man. It's tough. It's not as I'm running out is basically what I'm saying here. I'm running out. I'm on the downside.
Also very old. Sega Genesis. The first console that I bought myself.
I did not. I was not that old. By the time that I could afford a Sega Genesis, we had moved on to like N64s, and I realized that I don't care anymore. So I was on to new stuff. All right, stop. No more, Rob. You're better than this. No, I'm not. We got a lot we got to get to on the radio program today. I don't know if you know this or not, but Nikola Jokic and Steph Curry are both very good at basketball. I'm going to need to understand how a team not terribly far removed from a National Basketball Association title has a 61-point triple-double effort from Nikola Jokic and loses the game. How do you get 61, 10, and 10 out of Nikola Jokic and lose the game? That's unbelievable. We're going to talk about that. Steph Curry, a dozen three-pointers last night. A dozen three-pointers. Steph Curry now has more than double the amount of NBA games with 10 three-pointers or more than the next closest guy. The next closest guy, by the way, is Klay Thompson, you wanted that bit of trivia.
Win the game?
They did win the game.
That's unfortunate.
A dozen threes. Steph went off for 51 last night. He now has more 50-point career games than LeBron James does, for what that's worth. We're going to talk some basketball later on in the show, both college and pro, as we get set for this Saturday's Final Four, next Monday's national championship game, because that was wonderful timing. Did you all just hear me sneeze on Lonzo's mic? That one hurt a little bit.
Probably. I should have talked over it while you were doing that. And Rob is now doubled over in pain.
I felt like something moved inside of me. Something shifted.
Like a xenomorph?
No, like an organ or something.
Moved by a xenomorph.
Oh, God.
It pushed it aside on its way out.
It's pollen season, people. Oh, man. I woke up feeling surprisingly good. Got off the air at 11, took the dogs out, Went and walked him, came back inside, laid down. I was out at like midnight last night, like real quick. Didn't have to stay up and watch the Braves game, so I did not. Went to bed, was out at like midnight, woke up, alarm went off at 3:45. I gave myself an extra 15 to sleep in. Felt good, felt great, got up, took a shower, got dressed, took the dogs back out to get their, wife's out of town, so they got to go out right before I leave, and I got to jet right out of here after I'm over so that they don't poop on the floor. Took the dogs
you keep
out.
saying they, and all of
I got 2 dogs now.
Okay, because you've never mentioned that you have 2 dogs.
Yep.
You've only mentioned that there's Remy, and that's all
Yep.
that's all we're aware of.
Now we have Remy and Rue. We got a new dog, Roux, Rue, like the stuff you got to make a good gumbo.
Not like
good dark
you'll rue the day.
No,
not that.
Rue like
Okay.
Roux.
Okay.
Got a new dog. Got Rue. We don't know what she is yet. She's a sweetheart. She's a cuddle monster. We love her. Picked up Rue last week.
Don't know what she is yet.
We don't. We can't figure it out.
Some sort of mongrel.
We're trying to figure it out. We think she's got a little black cur and Carolina dog in her, but we're waiting on the
Whatever
DNA
the
test.
heck that is.
Black.
Wait a minute. You did a DNA test on the
Turns
dog?
out I'm 100% that. Yeah, did a DNA test on Remy too.
Okay. Why?
Yeah. So we can know what she is.
Okay.
I want to know what kind of dog I got. Am I gonna
So
get a
this
big
is
dog?
this is
little
not
dog?
a dog lineage thing. It just tells
No, I'm
you.
not. I'm not out here trying to like carry on the aristocratic titles of my dogs. This is Sir Remington. Like,
It
no.
really does sound like something you would do, though.
No, there are people who do that.
3
like-
generations ago.
No, there are people
my
who do that.
dog was.
There are people who breed dogs that like you gotta have their papers and they have to have certain official names and all that. Not me. I get mutts out of the shelter.
Okay, that's the surprise. All right, and all the animals that
You never
I've
watched
got,
the Westminster Dog Show? They do that.
Yeah, but I get it with pure breeds. I've never heard anyone doing it from rescues that are basically mutts.
Yeah,
I've never
because
heard
like
that.
you can learn, you can understand a lot about the behavior of, and therefore the best way to train dogs based on their breed, right? Like training a terrier is going to be different than training a bulldog is going to be different than training a boxer is going to be different. And if you get like, okay, this dog's 60% boxer and 20% terrier, then you kind of have an idea of like, all right, probably going to respond like a
That's
boxer.
an odd mixing.
Hey, shelters, man. You get some weirdos.
Okay.
Anyway, we got Rue. Had to take both the dogs out this morning. Did so. Felt real good. Took the dogs out. Came back inside. Set the dogs up for the day. Got in the car. Left halfway here. And it has been nonstop ever since. Nonstop ever since. Like it's just I can.
Oh, you didn't have to do that part. Stop! No, stop doing. People are about to eat their biscuit, man.
I can just like how you can just feel it, like your sinuses. You can just feel that little bit of up in there.
Yeah, stop.
Yeah, it sucks.
That is gross.
Sucks a lot. Happy pollen season, people. The good news is that means that like it's like real spring now. All right, it's like official spring now. So enjoy these 2 weeks before it gets bleep you hot outside.
Well, I actually think that happens tomorrow. I think it's going to be like 80 tomorrow.
Oh, perfect timing. Perfect timing. All right, so enough of that.
Getting ready to break out the shorts and the pail.
I just live with the pail. We have got to talk some hockey. Alex Ovechkin puts his 891st career goal on the board last night. There are 8 Washington Capitals games remaining. He needs 4 goals to surpass Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals scored record, a record that was considered unbreakable. Alex Ovechkin could theoretically break it by the end of this season. Will he do so or not? We're going to talk a little bit of hacky later on in the program. How about that stat there? Last night, a young man by the name of Ryan Leonard came out of Boston College, made his debut for the Washington Capitals. Leonard was born in January of 2005. Alex Ovechkin played his first NHL game in October of 2005. This young man that joined Avi on the ice last night was born the same year that Alex Ovechkin played his first NHL game. Avi needs, if he stays on the pace he's on right now, he needs 7 more games to break the NHL's goal record. He has 8 games remaining on the regular season. That includes a contest against the Hurricanes coming up on Wednesday. We're going to talk about that. We got a lot of NFL discussion we've got to get to. Last night, sitting in on BetMGM tonight, did a whole round table about the draft strategery of the NFC South. I'm going to give you some of the thoughts that we had a couple of experts on last night, Ryan Horvath's, and as well as my own thoughts from last night about what the entire NFC South might do. Jed York, the owner of the 49ers, said that the mass exodus of players out of San Francisco is at least partially to be blamed on the 49ers trying to keep enough money in the coffers to pay Brock Purdy as if he is a top-flight A1 quarterback. That's silly. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. We got a lot of quarterbacks talk that we need to get to. We got to talk some Atlanta Braves, as we mentioned, 0-6 now to start the season. Dewey just texted the show, and this time didn't text to say, bleep you, Rob, you should be fired. He said, real question. Do you believe the Braves will overcome a likely 0-7 start, or is this going to be a lost season? They are horrible right now. Dewey, since you have been kind enough to text me and not tell me how much I suck at my job, but to actually talk sports, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer it right now. I'm not even going to make you wait through the break. No, I don't see how they overcome an 0-7 start.
I am curious. I know I could look this up, but what's the longest a team has went without a win at the beginning of the baseball season?
That's a great question. I will find out during the break. I don't actually know. But I do. Here's the thing. When the Braves are done with this series, they get to come back home. When they get to come back home, they're taking on the Miami Marlins. That team stinks. They've got to win. If they go 0-, I think they got a 3-game set against Miami before they take on Philly. If they go 0-3 against Miami, then they will go 0-4 against the Phillies, and we're staring down the barrel of an 0-14 start. Now, not even the White Sox lose 14 consecutive games. Like, not even the White Sox. And the White Sox last year were one of the worst teams in the history of Major League Baseball. And I think their longest L streak last year was a dozen, if I recall correctly. Like, over the course of the season, not to start the year, all season long. I think the L streak ended at a dozen. Like, even the worst teams are going to accidentally backdoor their way into an accidental win every now and then. But here's what I do know. Jurickson Profar, 80-game postseason, or 80 game and a postseason ban. Yesterday, we find out that Reynaldo Lopez, who was supposed to be one of the studs for this team, has to have arthroscopic surgery, is going to be out at least a couple of months. So now you're down another starting pitcher. The guys can't hit. They had, 3 hits last night? Matty Ice Baby Olsen had a double. Ozuna had an RBI single to drive him in. You had one more hit in that game. You had 3 hits against Dustin May. And tonight you go up against Blake Snell, a Cy Young winner. The Braves are screwed, man. They're screwed, Dewey. I don't want them to be, but they are. All right. I want you to know I tried so hard to figure out how I was going to work Susu Studio into our Phil Collins references games earlier. And here's what I'm going to say. Ladies and gentlemen, live from the Ingalls Market Susu Studios, it's Rob Brown, it's Alonzo, it's the Rob Brown Show, it's the Fan Upstate.
Well done. Well,
it's the best I could do.
No, it worked.
Brian, I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry you're sick, buddy. I hope you get to feeling better. That stinks a lot. But I hope it's coming around for you.
Well, thank you for leaving the room when you blow your nose after earlier. Ugh.
Studio 14. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if they got past the dozen.
That's not the record.
Is that not correct?
No, I have the record. We can wait till we go on the air, or I can. Yeah.
All right, let's get the Brave stuff out of the way.
All right. So in the modern two-league era,
Yep.
also known as era, the longest losing streak belongs to the 1961 Philadelphia Phillies at 23 games. In the American League, the 1988 Baltimore Orioles and 2024 Chicago White Sox hold the record at 21. So it's 23.
Let's see. I want to go back to, just out of curiosity, let me see if I can find this real quick. Since the year 2000, there have only been 5 teams that have strung together a losing streak of 11 games or longer. The 2001 Milwaukee Brewers lost 11. The 2002 Tampa Bay then Devil Rays lost 15. The 2005 Kansas City Royals and the 2021 Baltimore Orioles both lost 19, the longest current losing streak. I said I didn't think the White Sox lost more than a dozen consecutive. Turns out I was way wrong. They lost 21 consecutive last year. That is why the White Sox compiled the most losses in a single season in the MLB's modern era. They will threaten that this year. They also set the MLB total wins number for the lowest.
Have they won
ever.
any games this year?
I believe the White Sox do have a win as it stands right now. In fact, I'll go pull that up.
So why are you talking stuff about them?
I'm not talking stuff. I'm saying what they are.
Okay.
Yes, not only have they won a game, the White Sox have won 2 games so far. As it stands, as of last night, every team in the American League has now won at least 1 game. Every team. I was right. Remember on Monday when I said the Atlanta Braves are going to be the last team in Major League Baseball to win a game, and then like half of you slammed me and were like, oh, they're 162 games. They're not that bad. Ladies and gentlemen, the Atlanta Braves are the only team in Major League Baseball without a win.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Rob knows ball even when he doesn't want to. Like right now, like right this very second. The Atlanta Braves 0-6. They are the only 0-for team in Major League Baseball. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, even the Colorado Rockies have won a game. Even the Rockies have won a game. The Rockies have won a game. The Pirates and the Brewers have won games. The Nationals have won a game. The Twins have won a game. Hell, the Oakland Athletics. The Athletics
Just
have
the
won 2
Athletics.
games. They've won 2.
Not associated with the magazine or online site, whatever that is. The Athletic.
No, the Athletics of not Oakland, in Sacramento, but not the Sacramento Athletics, just the Athletics. They've won 2. The Mariners have won 2 games. They're 2-4. The Braves 0-6. Dewey asked in the last segment, can the Braves bounce back from this? Can the Braves bounce back, or is this going to be a lost season? Look, I think the Braves could theoretically still be in the wild card. They could theoretically still be in the wild card. It would take something special though, because
Managers or anyone in danger of losing their job after a start like this?
I mean, not losing their job in this season, but I do think if the 0-7 start to the season ends up leading to the Braves having a catastrophic year when they were projected. I have Bob Nightingale of USA Today. If you're a baseball guy, you know of Bob Nightingale. The guy's one of the most famous baseball writers on planet Earth. We had Bob Nightingale on the show last Saturday to talk baseball with us. And we were talking about the Dodgers because obviously the Dodgers are the class of Major League Baseball. Horvat last night, we were talking about this and making some season projections for MLB. And Horvat came up with the best description of the Dodgers that I've heard so far, which is the Dodgers got dudes. And if their dudes ain't dudes enough, they got more dudes that they can plug into the hole that would start on other teams. That is why the LA Dodgers have the GDP of most developing nations in payroll right now. It's unbelievable. So we asked Bob Nightingale on Saturday if there's a team in the NL that can keep pace with the Dodgers and then maybe threaten them in a 5 or 7 game series, who would that be? And Bob Nightingale's answer was, well, if they're healthy and things go right, it's the Atlanta Braves. They've got enough pitching with Strider, with Schwellenbach, with Chris Sale, with Reynaldo Lopez. They've got enough pitching that they could go pitcher for pitcher over the course of a 5-game series or a 7-game series with the LA Dodgers and make something happen. But they're 0-6. They're 0-6. The Phillies are 3-1. They're a full 4 games back of Philadelphia before they get their first win. This is going to be, if they're going to get there, it's going to be a wild card season. They're a game and a half back of the DC Nationals. And again, we're 6 games in. We have 156 baseball games remaining for the Atlanta Braves. But I keep going back to, because I think it's honestly one of the best descriptions of a season that I've given in a very long time. The Braves are a poor man with a Powerball ticket. If every if that they have on the roster works out, they can be, I'm not going to say as good as the Dodgers, but they can be good enough to give them a fit in a postseason series. If every if they have works out exactly correct, the Braves could theoretically win the National League. If all but 1 or 2 of the ifs go right for Atlanta, that would be the equivalent of that Powerball number not hitting. But, like, you won the Mega Millions, right? Like, you're still in pretty good shape. You're fine. You're not as well off as you would have been if you got them all right. Problem is, if you miss 3, you lose. And now you're just a poor guy who wasted a little bit of change on a lottery ticket. And that's kind of where I feel like the Braves are right now. You lose Jurickson Profar after your 4th loss. He's done for half the season. Reynaldo Lopez is going to be down for at least 2 months, has to have arthroscopic surgery. By the way, when I say at least 2 months, that is partially because the arthroscopic surgery is not just for repairs. It's also to find out how bad the injury is. It is possible that Reynaldo Lopez has a season-ending injury for the Atlanta Braves, which means one of the few bright spots is not there anymore at all. You have already missed on one if. If Reynaldo Lopez is down for more than 2 months, 3 months, that's 2 ifs already cooked. We're not even 7 games into the season. So for those of you that hit me yesterday and said, Rob, it's been 5 games. Why don't you chill the F out? I shan't, I can't, and I won't. And let me take that back. I shall, I can, and I will, because I don't care. There is no reason to invest in this team. And here's the part that I think is the biggest issue for me. Because I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine yesterday who is a Braves fan as well. I said, you want to know what the worst part about this is? It's not just that we don't know if Spencer Strider's going to be him when he comes back. Could be every possibility that Strider comes back, throws, 15 innings, and the injury turns out he ain't the same guy. Ronald Acuna, second ACL injury. Could turn out that he comes back and he just ain't the guy that won the NL MVP a few years ago. All these different things are very possible. The problem I have with Atlanta right now is that all of the issues that cropped up last year that made this team bad, a disappointment last year, it's the same issues this year. It's the exact same issues. It's Matt Olson, who has, 2 hits through the last 4 games. It's the fact that the Braves had 3 hits yesterday. 3 hits in that game. And they were up against Dustin May. Dustin May is not a bad pitcher. But you got Blake Snell tonight. He is dramatically better. You gave me 3 hits last night against Dustin May. The Braves were 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position last night. Now, again, there's some spots you're going to get better. Kelenick's a platoon guy. He's not a guy that I want out there as a consistent outfield starter. I want him as a platoon guy. I want him as a guy that I plug in because Ronnie says my knee's a little weak and I need a day. All right, Kelenic, you get the start today. Brian De La Cruz, another guy that I want plugged in into the rotation every now and then. Not a consistent starter in left field. But you still got to be able to hit the baseball. When I've got the guys out there like Michael Harris II going 0 for 4 in the leadoff spot. Austin Riley, who does have a dinger on the year, but 0 for 4. Olsen was 1 for 4 with a double. Ozuna was 1 for 2 with a single, 2 walks. Gave Olsen his run scored, his RBI. That was it. Ozzie Albies 0 for 4. Baldwin 0 for 3. And again, backup catcher. Like, you're going to get Murphy back. You're going to be better at the catcher spot. Cool. My problem is all these guys you're waiting to get back, they're all still weeks away. Spencer Strider's still at least a month away. Ronald Acuna Jr. probably at least a month away. Sean Murphy probably a month away. Like all these guys are a month away. The Braves are 0-6. They're going to be 0-7 after tonight. Texter says, negative Nancy here. Look, I tried to be positive. I said I'm going to give it 3 weeks before I hit the panic button. Now I'm telling you, I'm not going to hit the panic button. Because in order to panic, I have to be emotionally invested. And right now, I'm just not. There's no point in it. Because the Phillies are, by the time all those guys get back, at the pace the Braves are on now, by the time you get Murphy back, Acuna back, Spencer Strider back, by the time you get all these guys back, and if he can come back, Reynaldo Lopez, by the time you get all these guys back, the Phillies are going to be sitting on a 17, 18 game lead. And you go, all right, well, Rob, I mean, they have 100 and what, 20 games, 110 games? Yeah, but see, the problem is the Phillies are still real good. Having time to run a team down also means that team has time to not let you. And that's kind of where I'm at. That's what it is. Like, it's as simple as if I got a team that can't hit, that folds in the clutch, and that has half their talent injured for at least the first 2 months of the season, there's no reason to emotionally invest in this team. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy baseball as a baseball fan. All right, that's enough of that. Can we be done with the Braves for the day? Maybe the week. We'll find out. Rob Lanzuni, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Oh, this is going to be a long day. It's like every seventh word, just like something drips into the nasal cavity. Ah.
Did you just ock?
Ah. Studio.
Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about? Okay, that's good to know. So do I. Yes, I do. You too. Bye.
What was that?
Someone calling in to say they remember Johnny Weissmuller as Tarzan.
So do I.
It's because my mom watched those movies over and over again. They were black and white. I had forgotten that I remembered until now. Memory jarred. Thank you. Now I can go back into wherever it was.
The old memory hole. Oh, God, no. We're done with this for the day. Studio.
Okay, so that wasn't a lie.
What?
More casting. I don't know. It's hard to. I can't. I would give it a couple days because April Fool's Day. There's a lot of stuff out there like there usually is, and it's hard to figure out what's real and what isn't.
Fair.
IGN is showing a picture of Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Charlie Cox, and John Barenthal. So Punisher and Daredevil. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds is not a surprise because Ryan Reynolds, how's he not in it eventually? Because of the scene in Deadpool where Thor is holding him.
There's also the theory right now that
May not be in this one and be in Secret Wars. Yeah.
there's a theory right now that the anchor beings concept comes into play too. Because the premise of Doom in the story that they want to be telling is that his intent is to become the king of the multiverse. And in the comic book series, in order to destroy, Doom would basically try to take over multiverses, like universe by universe. And if a universe wouldn't submit, you could destroy that universe, but you had to find what is effectively the concept of the anchor being in a being called Molecule Man. And if you destroy Molecule Man, the universe would rip itself apart. And so the thought is, what if the concept of the anchor being is that, but it's just not Molecule Man, but every universe has its own anchor being. And the game is Doom, multiverse hopping, killing, trying to take over and then killing off anchor beings.
That would be cool and not cool, but how would he figure out what the anchor being was?
I mean, again,
how much time would he have to spend in a universe
so the
before he
theory,
could figure it out?
all of this is just like theory, but there was the TVA is technically still a thing, and the TVA knows who the anchor being.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so he has. I mean, there's your way. Is he just?
But wouldn't Loki be the anchor being?
So the thought is,
Yeah.
Doom and Loki interact with each other.
Yeah.
Because Loki currently technically runs all the timelines. So if you want a multiverse hop, Loki's the guy.
And we know he's in. We know he's in the movie.
He's in this movie, exactly.
I like being on the radio. It's fun for me. It's enjoyable. That's why I do it as much as I can. I've been giving up Saturdays for 4 years now because I like being on the radio. I give up any weeknight that the folks at the BetMGM network call me and say, Rob Brown, can you fill in for Ryan or Brad, or can you be on in the midday and fill in for Nick or Femi? Absolutely. Anytime. I like doing it. I also like that they give me money to do it. I'm a big fan. But there is one negative to saying yes every time that I'm asked to work. And that one negative is that I miss a lot of stuff. Yeah? I've had to give up going to sporting events or going to concerts, going to shows, going out with the wife, whatever. I've had to give up a bunch of stuff over the years because I work. And again, I've said this before. I know it's cliche. One day, when Rob Brown is making tens of millions of dollars a year, doing a thing that I love to do, I would like to be able to say that I am one of the people who made it because I grinded to get there, not because it was handed to me, because my dad bought a series of radio stations across California and forced me on them, and that's how I became the king of a radio empire.
That sounds oddly specific.
Nothing specific. So, I like to work, but the problem is it does make me miss stuff. It does make me miss out on events. It does make me miss out on sometimes just watching sports. Now, last night, I was getting to watch a little bit of sports. I can basically have on like a game, maybe two, while I'm doing BetMGM tonight, filling in for Brad Evans last night. And last night during the early portion of the game, one of the boys in the background was like, yo, Ovechkin's put 2 or 3 shots on net. He's scoring tonight. Well, I want to see Alex Ovechkin break the record of Wayne Gretzky for all-time goals scored. And so I turned that game on. And then I also had a baseball game on underneath that as well. And unfortunately last night, I made the decision that NBA basketball was going to take a back seat. We were talking a lot of baseball on BetMGM tonight. We were talking a lot of football on BetMGM last night. We weren't getting to a ton of basketball last night. NBA basketball, anyway. Talked a lot of Final Four, obviously. Weren't getting to a lot of basketball. And so the NBA kind of took a back seat. There were some good games on last night, but the NBA kind of took a back seat. I checked in at one point on the Nuggets-Timberwolves game because it was a very good back-and-forth game. Checked in at one point, and I was like, hey, it's a pretty good game overall. This is enjoyable. Nikola Jokic is clearly having himself a night. And then I just kind of forgot about it. So I get up this morning, and I've told you the routine. Rob Brown's up about 3:45. Quick hot shower, get dressed, get in the car, drive to work. When I get here, I turn on the computer. I write out our sports flash every day. And then I just go scroll through everything that I missed. And when I got on X this morning, Nikola Jokic was still trending. And I was like, oh, he must have had a pretty good game. Let me go look this up. So I did. And I saw that Nikola Jokic scored 61 points last night, 10 boards, 10 assists. The most points ever scored in a triple-double in the history of the National Basketball Association. I thought that's pretty good. And then as I continued to look at the social media, I also saw that Steph Curry was trending. I went, oh, what'd Steph do last night? So then I went and I looked up what Steph Curry did. No big deal. Dropped a dozen trays last night in a Golden State 134-125 win over the Memphis Grizzlies. The last time Golden State and Memphis got together, Memphis won by 51 points. Last night, Steph Curry scored 52 points on a dozen threes, 16 of 31 from the floor, 8 of 8 from the stripe. Also, he had 10 rebounds and 8 assists, just a couple of assists shy of the triple-double, the 50-piece triple-double. And then, as I continued to look at what happened last night, I was like, wait a damn second. Nikola Jokic scored 61 in a triple-double, the most points ever scored in a triple-double, and then it clicked with me. The Nuggets lost. I went, what? What? So I went back to the Nuggets T-Wolves games. 139-140, Minnesota knocks off Denver in double overtime despite 61 and a triple-double from Nikola Jokic. And I went, how in the blue hell did that happen? How in the world did that happen? The answer is because the Minnesota Timberwolves shot 111 field goals last night. They shot, again, 111 field goals last night. That is, and I've done the research on this, a lot. That's a lot of field goals. That was unbelievable, man. Like I don't know how to respond to that. Oh, and by the way, as I continued to look at scores from last night, then the Milwaukee Bucks popped up on my screen. 133-123 winners over the Suns. The Suns, obviously, without Kevin Durant, got a sprained ankle. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. But for some reason, the Bucks kept showing up, and I'm like, why are the Bucks showing up in this? That's because last night the Milwaukee Bucks shot 68.9% from the floor in the game. 68.9%. They had 8 players take a shot last night. All 8 of them went 50% from the floor or better. 68.9%. You know what you can round that up to? 69% from the floor. The Bucks had a nice shooting night last night. Spectacular night. They were 17 of 29 from 3. That is 58.6% from 3. That is the highest field goal percentage shot by an NBA team this Century. Y'all, we are a quarter of a way through the century, and they are the highest field goal percentage this century. Last night was a bit of a bummer of a night for Rob Brown to decide to work on BetMGM tonight. Not because I don't love working with hating-ass Mario and Ryan Horvat and Brando and the gang. Not because I dislike getting to do that show. Not even because I dislike having 8 hours of Rob Brown on the radio in Greenville, South Carolina, and Spartanburg, South Carolina, any given day. Turns out I enjoy subjecting y'all to 8 hours of me, as I did yesterday. Last night was a disappointing night for me to decide that I am going to work because I missed a historic night in the NBA last night. Jokic scores the most points ever scored in a triple-double. Steph Curry drops 51. He is now 25th on the all-time scoring list, past Jerry West last night. He also has now more 50-point games than LeBron James does. He was on pace, though he did not get there, for the most three-pointers ever made in a single NBA game. For a while there, it looked like he would, but they kind of stopped just jaying up threes late in the game. I had the Bucks shooting 69% nice from the floor last night. Like, what a historic night in the NBA. These are the kinds of nights that even though many of you are going to go, couldn't shoot 69% if they hand checked. They did hand check. I watched Giannis Antetokounmpo last night when the Bucks were on pace to shoot 69% from the floor. I watched Giannis Antetokounmpo last night getting D'd up at one point by I think it was Gillespie on the outside, Colin Gillespie. Villanova, another Wildcat in the NBA, getting the crap hand checked out of him. Like that argument's ridiculous. That, defense isn't physical. It may not be like it used to be where you could straight up just tackle guys under the basket. But it's not bad. And I watched Jokic be a dog last night. I watched Steph be a dog last night. I watched the team put up 111 field goal attempts in a win last night. I watched the team shoot 69% from the floor last night. It was an unbelievable. I didn't watch any of that because I was working. I was kind of like checking in on games, but I didn't get to actually watch any of them. I got in this morning and I went, the NBA is not in the trouble that a lot of people think that it's in. It's not. And somebody last night they said it last night. I saw it this morning on Twitter. Somebody said, yeah, but do you notice that it's the same guys? It's always Steph. It's always Giannis. It's always Jokic. It's always the same guys. And my response is, yeah, because they're real damn good at basketball. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. The day that somebody shows up and can shoot like Steph Curry is the day that Steph Curry will be making the news less. The day that somebody steps up and is as good as Nikola Jokic at the 5 spot is the day Jokic will start making the news less. But and I guess this is the frustration part for me. The NBA right now has a lot of real special players in it. Like a lot. And this is why it is so frustrating to me when I hear the talk. Oh, I tell you, NBA is not good right now. Yeah, it is. Look at what happened last night. Nikola Jokic put up 61 in a triple-double and lost the game. Steph Curry put up 52 in a revenge game. The Bucks shot the highest field goal percentage in an individual game in the century. That all happened in one night. If those three things happened in a week, we'd be like, that's a good week of NBA basketball. That all happened in one night. That all happened within 4 hours of each other. What a night for the NBA last night. And like I said, last night was one of the nights that if one of these things happened, I'd be like, bang, there's your story. There's your reason to watch NBA basketball. Because any given night of the week, Steph can go off for 52 with a dozen trays. Jokic can put up 61 and a triple-double and, oh, by the way, lose. And the Bucks can go shoot 69 nice percent from the floor. Any given night, all three happened at the same time. What do you want me to say? The league is good. Like, this is why, those of you that have asked over the years, when I've heard other people going constantly and consistently on the NBA is losing ratings. I mean, I got to think to some degree, at least a portion of the reason that the NBA is not growing on the upward trajectory that the NFL, honestly, MLB is right now. I got to think a large part of the reason that the NBA is kind of stuck in a slump right now is because half the stories about the NBA, half the segments on sports talk radio, half of the Embrace Debate show segments are, why does the NBA stink right now? It doesn't. It doesn't. But when you get on the radio, when you get on TV in the AM, when you go out there and every day you go, oh, you know, the NBA's got a problem right now. Yeah, it's boring right now. Nobody can share right now. You're driving people away. How many people last night might have turned on NBA TV and followed what was happening? And if they did, they would have watched Jokic 61 and a triple-double and a loss. Curry 52 with a dozen trays. The Bucks shooting 69 nice percent from the floor. All at the same time. Like, I was mad at myself this morning. Like, of all nights that you picked to work, of all the nights that you could have said no, that you could have been like, hey, guys, I'm a little busy. I can't do it tonight. I mean, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to work every time I get the chance. But had I taken off last night, I'd have got to watch 3 incredible bits of history all at the same time. I hope some of y'all did. For those of you that have hit me over and over with how the league's bad, I hope you watched a bit of what happened last night. Because what a bleeping night for the NBA, man. That was fantastic. All right. We'll talk some more basketball later on in the show. We got a lot of NFL coming up for you here, including some draft talk for all 4 teams in the NFC South. Little hockey coming down the pipe. We got Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joining us at 8:40 to get us set up. Rabbits got a home game tonight. Another couple of home games coming up this weekend. We'll tell you all about where they are to wrap up the season and more. But all of that comes after the Nikola Jokic of sports flashes, the great one, Lonzo.
It's true. I do want to go home. Clemson baseball stays in the win column with a 10-8 victory over Georgia Southern last night in North Augusta. Colin Priest, Tristan McClatty, and Josh Pano all had multi-RBI days, while Joe Allen recorded the win with 1.2 innings. That included 2 hits, 1 earned run, and a pair of Ks. Talon Bell got the start, going 3 innings and allowing 2 hits and no runs. The Gamecocks picked up win number 17 with an 11-1 run rule spanking over Presbyterian last night. Jackson Source was credited with the win, striking out 2 in 1 inning, while Parker Marlette and Brendan Sweeney each pitched a scoreless relief inning. Ethan Pitcher's third inning 2-run shot gave the Gamecocks breathing room, and Gavin Braylon's 2-out RBI on the top of the 6th broke the game open. Hey, tune in this afternoon, 3:70 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Call Bryson Diesel. Get you up to date on all the latest sports news. Apparently, I never learned to read. Nope, it's either Matt Mardigan or Chris Knight, Steven. And if you don't know who those guys are, you should look it up. And maybe it has a lot to do with my age. I mean, he was good. He was good or great in everything he was in. You're also going to take away one of my Twitter things, but that's fine. If he actually looks at it, he may not look at it. He wasn't the best Batman. I mean, I liked him as Batman. He wasn't the worst Batman either. That's still and always will be George Clooney.
Now, Susu Studio is going to be in my head for the entire day.
You're welcome.
Didn't say thank you.
I picked one you didn't.
I was trying so hard.
Yeah. I brought it up in Audio Finder, found the list of all Phil Collins songs, and not Genesis songs, just Phil Collins. Is like, he didn't mention this one. How in the world would you mention that? Because I don't even know what it is. I guess it's her name.
Oh. I got nothing. I don't know what it means.
It's like Abacab. What is that? I mean, you know. A lot of people want that, Jacob. But, you know, when there's a lot of rallying for something to happen, a lot of times it doesn't. My guess is he's going to pick an unknown to play Batman, just like he did with Superman. I'm looking more forward to see who he gets to play Damian Wayne, because when we see Batman, supposedly it's going to be in a Batman and Robin movie, which will also have more of the Bat family, including Nightwing.
Wonderful.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. What a day to have on the radio program, the midweek edition. Plenty we have talked about so far, plenty we shall talk about over the next 3 hours. How does time work?
I was going to say, are we leaving early today?
I mean, I'm not against it. I
Wasn't
think
the
the
way-
people who sign our paychecks would be upset.
Yeah, as long as we're not leaving early because we're done. Like, yeah, by the way, put network on and come to the office. Like, oh no.
We're good.
What did Rob do?
That's fair. That's very fair. We've got a lot. We are going to continue to talk about the NFL owners' meetings, including a meeting of the NFL's competition committee.
This is bothering me because I thought that you would come in and go crazy about something that I saw, and it was April Fool's, and maybe it's not real. And you still don't. Okay, so maybe it's not real about the chip in the ball, and you didn't see that got passed. I mean, it could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been an April Fool's thing.
That's part of the water cooler cheat sheet.
Okay, because I thought you'd come in and you'd be gloating right away. The very first segment, instead, we got Phil Collins. So maybe that was just a distraction.
Hour number 2 is the hour that you get the most earballs tuned into the show.
Okay. But, a monumental thing like this for you, an exciting moment of you being able to say, I told you so, should have started off every hour.
Hour number 2 is the hour where you flex.
By the way, all hours matter, and we thank all our listeners, especially those who are with us from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
I agree, which is why they got an incredible first hour of broadcasting, including like a solid 7 minutes where we worked like 26 different Phil Collins song titles into our conversation.
And still didn't get to all of them.
And still didn't even come close to getting to all of them.
Dude, is that good?
But that is a part of the water cooler cheat sheet. So I say we jump right in. It is 7:02 in the morning. You have 57 minutes and some change until you got to get your old behind into the office, sat down in that chair, respond to those passive-aggressive emails, go ahead and put all the things that you don't want to do onto the calendar so you can get your day scheduled up. And then you're going to stand up. You're going to walk down the hallway. You're going to head down past the accounting office all the way into that little corner of the break room where the early in the morning, nobody wants to be the guy that turns the lights on, right? So you leave the lights off and you go stand in the corner where nobody could see you. And then you talk sports. And if you're going to talk sports, you don't want to go in there sounding like a fool, like a clown, like an idiot who doesn't know what's going on. That's why you listen to the Rob Brown Show every morning at 7 o'clock when we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
Yo, man, who's cooking barbecue?
they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan upstate.
You don't smell it? I smell someone cooking something.
Any
Sorry.
Are any doctors listening to the show? Lonzo may need one.
You don't listen, my sense of smell is greater than yours, and you smell snot
that's
right
fair.
now.
That's
so.
fair. That's very fair. The sinus season has begun.
Someone is cooking
kicking my
something
ass.
that just gave me instant hunger pains, and I don't know. It smells like barbecue for some reason. And no, I'm not stroking out. If I was, it's supposed to be brownies, and this smells like
I've heard toast.
barbecue. Well, something with bread, or a baking product. This smells like barbecue.
Item number 1.
Sorry, I'm still stuck on the barbecue.
Yeah, no, I see that. I got that. Yeah. Hey, what a night in the National Basketball Association that we had last night. There's going to be a couple of things wrapped up into item number 1. We are going to start with Nikola Jokic, a triple-double last night, including 61 points. It was the most points ever scored in a triple-double in the history of the NBA. It was the most by a player in the NBA so far this season, also the most points in a triple-double in NBA history across 52 minutes and 38 seconds of action. Nikola Jokic dropped 61, also had 10 boards and 10 assists. He did not leave the court after halftime last night. Nikola Jokic outpaced a pair of 60-point triple-doubles, one in 2022 by Lakers legend Luka Doncic, the other in 2018 by James Harden, who both had a 60-point triple-double those 2 years. But it ultimately was not enough because the Wolves put up 111 field goal attempts last night and were able to get the 1-point dub in double OT. Over in the Golden State Memphis game, Steph Curry dropped 52 in a 134-125 win over the Grizz last night. The last time that these two teams got together, the Grizzlies won by 51. Last night, Steph scored 52 in a hell of an effort. Was firing up three-pointers throughout the game, connected on a dozen of them. Was asked after the game if the previous contest was motivation for last night. He said, quote, "I'd actually forgotten. I was just kind of focused on how big this game was for us." Why? Because the win moves Golden State past Memphis into 5th place in the Western Conference. Benefited the Warriors in 2 areas. Golden State has now won the season series 3-1, which in essence gives the Warriors a 2-game lead over the Grizz because of the tiebreaker. You also had the Milwaukee Bucks last night, who shot 68.9% from the floor. They were 51 of 74 in a 133-123 win over the Suns last night. No team had shot for that high of a percentage in a game dating back to March 13th of 1998, when the LA Clippers shot 69.3% in a 152-120 win over the Raptors last night. The Bucks 6th in the Eastern Conference standings, on track for their lowest playoff seed since 2018. They had lost their previous contest 145-124, which was the most points they had given up in a single season. That was about the same time that they found out they were losing Damian Lillard, who has deep vein thrombosis. That is the same thing that has caused the Spurs to shut down Victor Wembanyama for the season. Dame's dealing with that in his right calf. He is taking blood thinning medication. There is a possibility that Damian Lillard could return for the Bucks, but they're going to have to go on a run to try to get themselves out of that play-in territory. If they keep shooting like they did last night, that'll help. Each of the 8 Bucks who took to the floor last night shot at least 50%, including Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had 37 points, 11 assists, and 6 boards, went 12 of 18 from the floor in the win. Let's get to item number 2. I think I'm just going to keep putting them on the water cooler cheat sheet until they get a win. But the Braves' 0-6 losing streak is going to put them here now. Now, it's not just because they are 0-6 after dropping a 3-1 game on the road at the Dodgers last night. A game in which Chris Sale went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned, K'd 5. It was a Mookie Betts 2-run shot that separated the Dodgers from the Bravos last night. The Braves from the dish last night recorded just 3 hits. Matt Olson had a double. Ozuna RBI'd him in. And you had 1 additional hit from Nick Allen, who was playing the shortstop role. Again, the Braves have a lot of guys they're waiting to get back. The Braves have a lot of guys that are effectively backups playing on the diamond last night. But last night, the Atlanta Braves, by way of dropping a dub, have become the only team in Major League Baseball that has not yet recorded a win. 0-6 to start the season. Going back to 2021, the Braves started 0-4 and went on to win the World Series. The Braves are going to lose again tonight, because tonight, the Atlanta Braves at 8:38 p.m., their earliest start time of this series, they take on the Dodgers again. Bryce Elder, who just got called back up to the active roster a couple of days ago when Reynaldo Lopez was set to the IL, will be on the bump starting for against Blake Snell. Snell is 1-0 so far in the season. Has gone 5 innings, given up 5 hits, K'd just 2, and walked 4. Not the start of the season Blake Snell wanted. Blake Snell will be in Cy Young contention in the National League at the end of the year. Atlanta will have to put the ball into play tonight. According to ESPN Analytics, Atlanta has about a quarter of a chance to win this game, sitting at about 25% likelihood of winning this game. They are plus 210 on the money line. It is bad. It is bad when you are getting plus money on the run line. Atlanta plus 1.5 is plus 110. They are getting plus money to add a run and a half to their score and be within one of the LA Dodgers. Not great, Bob. Not great. The Atlanta Braves, the last team in Major League Baseball to win a game, which they have not done yet. Item number 3. The NFL will not look dramatically different in the 2025 season, but there were some rule changes that were made yesterday by the NFL's competition committee. We'll start with the big one that was being discussed. The tush push will not be banned. As of right now, that conversation is tabled. The owners were expected to vote on a possible ban of the play, but after, from what I understand, heated conversation, according to a number of sources, they decided to table the tush push ban. They are going to pay a little bit further attention to it. One of the things that folks mentioned, including the clip we played you yesterday from Rams coach Sean McVay, was a concern for the health and safety of the players, which, as I said yesterday, is a BS argument. There is no number that says there is an increased number of injuries due to the tush push. So they tabled that. They will reevaluate it next year. CBS Sports NFL insider Jonathan Jones reported, and this is interesting, Lonzo, that of the 32 NFL teams, 16 favored a ban of the tush push, 16 opposed a ban of the tush push. The proposal needs 24 votes to pass. They will have to pick up 8 more teams to change their mind about the play between here and next year for a ban to go into effect. Half the league said we're good with it. Half the league said we're not. That is not enough of a majority to make the change. So that's interesting.
Wow.
NFL owners also voted to align the regular season overtime rules more closely with postseason rules. Under the OT rules in the postseason, the period is 15 minutes long, and both teams are guaranteed a possession, even if the team that gets the ball first scores a touchdown. Now, both teams will be guaranteed a possession during overtime in the regular season. However, the overtime period will only be 10 minutes long. Under the previous regular season rule, the team that got the ball first could win the game outright by scoring a touchdown on their first possession. That is no longer the case. However, because as we have pointed out, the overtime rules were put into place for one reason and one reason alone. That is to make sure that on games that are followed on television by another games, they would not bleed over, cross over, and cover up the start of the next game. In order to minimize that, which is the only reason the clock is changed, both teams will get a possession in overtime in the regular season, but the overtime period will only be 10 minutes long. Touchbacks are indeed, as predicted, moving out to the 35-yard line. It was the 30 last year, but starting with this season, the touchback will be moved out to the 35. The hope is that it will discourage the kicking team from simply booting the ball out of the back of the end zone, knowing the return team will automatically get the ball at the 35. That is big because that means the team would need to gain just 20 to 25 yards to get into field goal range. It is also going to expand the amount of room between the touchback mark and the average return. We have told you a couple of times, the average return last year in the NFL on a kickoff, 27 yards, meaning that if you touched the ball back as opposed to dropping it on the goal line, you were sacrificing only 3 yards to ensure that the return team did not pop one and change the momentum of a game. Now, with an average return of 27 yards, you would be sacrificing 8 yards, almost an entire moving of the chains in order to go with a touchback. The league's internal data shows 65 to 75% return rate if the touchback is moved back to the 35, which would double the rate of returns from the 2024 season. 3 out of 4 kickoffs would be returned according to the NFL with the new rule. For the past 2 years, the NFL has been able to flex any Thursday night game held between week 13 and 17, but the league had to give 28 days of notice. That is no longer the case. The owners have voted to trim that number down to 21 days, which means the NFL can now wait longer before deciding whether to flex a Thursday game. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. If you like throwback jerseys, you're going to like this one. NFL teams can now wear their throwback or alternate uniforms 4 times per season. Under the previous policy, that number was just 3. Teams will now also be allowed to wear their alternate pants in the postseason, which was not permitted under the old policy. Only one other thing that was approved. Teams will be able to wear their alternate helmet with their regular uniforms moving forward. So we're going to get some interesting combinations moving forward. A proposed playoff format conversation has been tabled, not approved. Under the proposal, a wild card team that could be seeded higher than a division-winning team if the wild card team had a better record, all division winners would still be guaranteed a playoff berth, but they would not be guaranteed a home playoff game, which would have been a monumental shift to the playoff system. Had the rule been in place last year, the 14-3 Vikings would have been the 3rd seed in the NFC instead of the 5th, meaning they would have hosted a game instead of having to go on the road, a road game in which they lost. Apparently, quite a few teams like this idea, but instead of a vote on it, the owners decided to table it until the next league meeting in May so it could get approved then. Jonathan Jones noted that more teams than you think are open to it, which makes sense if you really think about it because, teams that are successful and win their divisions or at least are in competition for them, they are going to be on board because it opens up the opportunity to go win 14 games and host a playoff game. We'll see how that goes. There was 2 other big-time conversations, votes, rules changes that were approved yesterday. Both of them made Rob Brown a happy boy. Both of them involve the T2000 coming for us all. I'm going to tell you what those rule changes are and why I think they are just swell when we come back. I'm Rob Brown. He's the great Malonzo. You are listening to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Golly.
Just swell. Oh, man. Curry was 2 assists from a 50-point triple-double. Basketball was great last night. Basketball was great last night. You are exactly correct.
Something is rumbling in the building. Must be a.
Yeah, I felt that too.
Must be a radio. There's no way there's a radio. Well, I guess there is. Your bass rattles this building. How in the world are you driving in that car? Every time he says cactus sofa, I think of John Moxley.
Oh, dude, that was so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. Oh. Dun, 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 dun. Just watched the last episode of Reach. I guess I gotta watch that. I'm like the only person I know that hasn't yet.
I haven't watched it yet. Cameron says it's awesome.
I've heard nothing but good about it for whatever that's worth.
There was a new episode of Daredevil, wasn't there? Or are they taking a hiatus?
I do not know is the answer. I haven't checked yet.
Raven said she's watched Gothic Baby a bunch of times. Had no idea who it was.
Really? That's too funny.
You should watch it. It's very entertaining. Each episode lasts like a minute.
Talking rule changes in the National Football League. We've told you a few that have been tabled, rejected. Oh my God, I could not come up with the word rejected. I was struggling there for a minute. I'm like,
Listen, it's a hard word for most guys to say.
Good
So,
gosh
I mean,
almighty.
it's all right.
Tabled, rejected, and approved.
It's because it was not you. It was not them. It was
I'm
anyway.
just not used to it. Touchbacks moving out to the 35-yard line. We told you about that. We told you about the uniform changes. We told you about the Thursday night flex changes. There's two more that we need to get into. The first, actually, both of them I'm really excited about. Let's start with this one. Owners have approved the expansion of replay assist. 5 new penalties can now be overturned by the booth. Hitting a defenseless player, face mask, horse collar tackle, tripping, and roughing/running into the kicker. Now, there is a notable aspect of this conversation. The proposal is that replay assist will not call penalties that were not flagged on the field. For instance, if an obvious face mask is missed on the field, replay assist can not go back and tell the referee to throw a penalty on the play. However, if a face mask flag is thrown on a play where a face mask penalty did not actually happen, then replay assist can step in to have the flag picked up. The NFL is limiting the scope of replay assist to objective penalties that can be overturned with, quote, clear and obvious video evidence.
Was pass interference in there?
It was not.
Huh.
It was not. I don't know why you felt the need to bring that
I
up.
just,
but-
because I just thought that would be a problem for you, that they did all that, but they didn't put pass interference back in there. I wasn't trying to open old wounds. I just,
Oh, they're open. They're open.
Or maybe I'm just taking a stab, if you will, before you get to the rule that you're really excited
You
about.
took a stab in my back, through my heart.
I can't. Well, the heart thing's. I mean, because we're kind of looking right at each other.
We're doing a segment last night on BetMGM tonight. We were Horvat was like trying to calm me down on my Braves panic because I just went ahead and went full bleep this on that show too. And Horvat's trying to keep me down. So it's like, tell you what, let's get away from the Braves because Rob Brown is not well right now. Let's talk some NBA. Started talking NBA, went 3 minutes in, and he's like, by the way, John Morant, he gets that's not how Ryan Horvath talks, but in my head it does. In my head it does.
Right.
He's like, by the way, the Grizz fired their coach, and like T. Morant, Jaw's dad, is like on a podcast. It's like, is John Morant a coach killer? He's like, we used to bust up the Pelicans because they took Zion when they could have had Ja Morant. And we all said it's a mistake, and maybe it wasn't. And I'm like, oh, now you got to bring that into it. Cool, that's awesome, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Then he goes, you're right. That's my bad. When we come back, we're going to talk NFL draft. We come back. He's like, so Rob, what are the Saints going to do in the draft? I'm like, Ryan, why do you hate me?
Kindred spirits, and also
you and Mario both. I could hear you. You weren't even listening to the show, and I could hear you cackling from the other side of the state. It was infuriating.
I did smile last night for no reason.
There you go. Okay, so I do have a problem with this. I mean, it's a baby step in the right direction. It's like a baby step in the right direction. It's good. This is a good thing. But it's kind of the same way that I look at the automatic ball strike system in Major League Baseball. It's like, why, when you see that it works, when you know that it works, when it's demonstrable that it works, why would you not just dive in? Why would you not just go for it, right? Like the ABS works. We saw it. It takes 17 seconds, and that's when you got to do the whole dumb tap on the head, turn around, look up at the box, put on the headset, wait for the call, turn back around, take the headset off, wait for the graphic on the screen, make the call, get back. 17 seconds for all that. Or you could just have it do the thing and have the umpire go, pitch, catch, bzz, strike. Takes 1 second, right? Like, it works, just do it. This whole thing about the song and dance of taking a baby step, a baby step, a baby step, it puts people off on it. This was my issue with the pass interference thing. This was my issue the whole time. My issue was if you only allow it in a certain circumstance when it meets specific criteria and it's this and it's that, you got to have all these factors and variables. And you got to run through and make all those factors and variables, make sure they're all met. And then you got to make a ruling. And then because you only do it every now and then, it takes for bleeping ever to do it. When you go through all that, it's not shocking that it puts people off. They go, this is kind of a pain in the ass. Why would I want to go through this when I don't have to? Like, if you just do it. Last year, there was at least one game, a Minnesota Vikings game, where a clear and obvious face mask was not called. A face mask that would have changed the game, as it would have awarded a first down deep into territory that would have likely led to, at the very least, a field goal. Instead, it didn't do that. And what you are telling me is under the new system,
it still wouldn't do anything.
It still wouldn't do anything. It's not that hard. Just have a guy in the booth with a big old TV, which is not that tough because I'm poor and I have that. I'm poor and I've got a 75-inch TV on the wall in the bro cave that is crystal clear.
Poor compared to a former 1%er lifestyle does not necessarily mean poor.
I'm not, yes, former 1%. I'm poor now. And yet, I sit in a battle station in the bro cave with a 75-inch TV right there that I can see what it is. It's not that hard to just have a guy that, soon as the play's whistled dead, he goes, hey, Bob, face mask, go ahead and call that. Tweet, flag, after review. The video replay referee says face mask, 15 yards, automatic first down. Done. That's it.
I don't know if I want to live in your utopia, but I will say that there's no way that ever will happen to where they can start calling things like that because it will take forever because there's a penalty on every single play of a football game.
I'm not asking for you to call the hold by the left tackle off a run to the
Oh,
right.
so that's okay.
Lonzo, if
That's
a
okay.
quarterback's face mask gets grabbed on a pass, should it be called?
Was it incidental?
Lonzo, if
Was
a
it
quarterback
incidental?
throws a pass and his face mask is grabbed, is it a face mask? It doesn't matter if it's incidental. Is it a face mask?
Would replay prove whether
Ladies
it
and
was
gentlemen,
intentional
You'll
or not?
notice he's not answering the question. The answer is because it's real obvious.
You'll only ask me questions that make you look better. And you know what?
I don't think it's that hard of a question. If a quarterback if Mahomes throws a pass and a dude grabs his face mask, is it a penalty?
Was it called?
Is it a penalty?
Was it called?
If I drive 150 down the
There we
interstate,
go.
but I don't get pulled over, am I speeding? Yes.
Are you going?
Yes!
Are you going with the flow of traffic? It's all about perception as far as that goes.
Not.
It is.
150 on the interstate's illegal.
I just want to know what makes you the arbiter of football to be able to say, okay, it's all right if you hold, but this I want called. The other thing, I don't care. Nah, don't worry about that. That happens all the time. But this specific thing, this is what I want to be called. I would prefer, as a former offensive lineman, to get defensive linemen and their holding called every single time, and then they'll stop doing it.
If there is, as we all say there is, holding on every play
I'm
of the
just as
game,
passionate about holding as you are about face masks.
I am saying,
So why is my thing not the thing? Why does it have to be your thing?
what I am saying is if there is, and I'm not, listen, you can do with my proposed video referee, whatever, assistance, you can do just like they've done. They listed 5 penalties that they can step in and interact with. 5. Defenseless player, face mask, horse collar, tripping, roughing, running into the kicker. That's it. We can even go one step further and go, look, we're not gonna use replay assist on holdings because that's just got to be something that the referees throw flags on based on its impact on a play. But if a quarterback has his face mask grabbed, it's a face mask that directly impacts the play every time it happens. Every time it happens.
I looked into the
Every time it
screen
happens.
for a second and saw the sarcasm. I mean, it's just, oh.
This isn't sarcasm.
Oh, that's
I am
passion. Passion. I'm
deadly
sorry.
serious.
I'm sorry that you're deadly serious. Deadly.
It is not
No,
that big of an
I feel
ask.
threatened. I got to talk to HR.
When we have already had a Super Bowl impacting game change on a missed face mask to just have a guy up there that goes,
Hey, Bob, face mask on the defense, 15 yards.
tweet, face mask on the defense, 15 yards, we move on. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Just get it right. Like, that's not the only virtual assistant change that was made yesterday. The next one is the one I really like.
Nope.
And I'll tell you what it is and why it's good when we come back. Rob Lonzo D, The Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate. I reached over to turn my mic off and I accidentally hit my volume knob and spun it to 0, but I didn't know that I did that, so my headset just cut out and I freaked out.
No, you freaked out. That's hard to believe. Yeah. It's a very short break, by the way.
the fan, upstate.
Can't do it, man.
I can't. Wish
No
I
one
could.
can.
I wouldn't talk any other way if I could talk like that.
I would just go like order stuff at drive-thrus. I would like a quarter pounder, please. I ordered an adult Happy Meal again yesterday.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got one in the office. It's been there like for 2 years. It's just like the box is sitting there. The food's not in it, but the box has been sitting there. You've actually had to move it to do stuff. It's like right there in the middle.
I didn't know it was an adult. I just thought it was a Happy Meal.
No, it's an adult Happy Meal. They make those for adults.
We have talked about the NFL rule changes that were approved, rejected, and tabled. We continue with that conversation. Now, the one that I'm actually really excited about. I'm again, the one we talked about in the last segment. 5 penalties will be assisted by virtual replay assistant now. Now, as we mentioned, they can't be called by the Sky official, but they can be overturned by the Sky official. If they get it wrong, they'll fix it.
I'm curious about how long that will last. Will this just be a season test like with the pass interference?
I doubt it.
And will it be impactful? I mean, that's the thing. If it's not impactful and they don't use it any at all, then they can say, just like with the other rule, hey, we didn't really need it, so we're just going to scrap it.
The problem with the other rule, and I'm going to get to the first down thing, so stick with me, but I am going to say this before we do. The problem with the other one was that they didn't use it. It was right there, and they didn't use it. And I have said from the beginning, my entire take on that was, is, remains, and forever shall be the fact that you had the officials union at a point in time where they were working towards a new contract. The officials union, because when people have power and authority, they rarely volunteer to give it away. Rarely does someone gain power and authority and then go, yeah, I'll give some of this back. The NFL officials hated it because it took their on-the-field authority away from them. And this is why I've said a number of times, I don't particularly care if they don't like it. It's better for the game. It just is. You got to do what's best for the game, not what makes negotiations with your officials union easier. Okay? Now, I'll tell you one thing that is going to cause a fight down the line between the NFL.
We're moving away from the Saints rule. Okay.
We are moving away from a set of circumstances which screwed the Saints that was easily fixable, and they just didn't want to do it. They just didn't want to do it. It's not that tough. They just didn't want to do it. The chain gang is now under threat as the NFL announced that the league will use Sony's Hawkeye technology as the primary method for determining first downs in 2025. The NFL tested the system last season. The league said, according to Troy Vincent, that they are now comfortable using it full time. Vincent said, quote, the NFL and Sony are integrating world-class on-field officiating with state-of-the-art technology to advance football excellence. Combining the art of officiating with Sony's trusted Hawkeye system is a healthy recipe for success and our commitment to raising the standards of accuracy, consistency, and efficiency. Replay technology and data-driven insights from Sony's Hawkeye innovations aid us in advancing our efforts towards the future of football. Now, the chain gang will not be replaced. There will still be a chain gang on the field. It's just their job now will be hold the sticks. You just hold this one there and hold that one there.
They're going to be useless like how you want the umpires to be in baseball.
They're not useless. If I'm at a game, that one guy holding that one stick tells me where the ball needs to go to get a first down. Now, I will not be able to tell you if there's a big scrum of dudes right there in the middle. I will not be able to tell you if they got it or not. I will have to wait from the signal from the official. Here's the thing. The officials don't have to go anywhere either. There's just going to be a guy up in the box, and he's going to have a computer screen. I have had quite literal hands-on firsthand experience with the Hawkeye technology. I've told you about it already. I went up to Spire Motorsports headquarters late last year, and the NASCAR teams use the Hawkeye tech to check the specs on their cars. I got to see it up close and personal. It was cool as hell. They pulled a NASCAR stock car into a tent that was inside of their HQ. They parked it on some metal plates. Those plates are able to gauge down to 1/10 of an ounce the weight of the vehicle and where that weight is distributed in the car. Then they hit it with the Hawkeye technology. And they can tell you down to a fraction of a millimeter where the specifications on that car is. Down to the point that the dude that was giving us the tour said, I want to show you just how precise this technology is. He said, see that computer screen right there? And it showed the visual of the vehicle. He said, watch this. And he walked up to the back of the car, and he took his palm, and he just set it on the car. He didn't push on it. He just, set his hand on the car. And you could see the measurements of the car change from the weight of a hand. It was incredible, right? Now, I don't know. Like in tennis, the Hawkeye tech they use in tennis. And if you've been following tennis, tennis has been utilizing this technology for a few years now to get inbounds, out of bounds calls correct. The Hawkeye tech is what MLB used in their ABS, automatic balls and strikes challenges this spring training. I watched a lot of it. It was awesome. It was great to, get balls and strikes correct. It was fantastic. I do not know how the Hawkeye technology is going to work when Derrick Henry is in the midst of a scrum and there's a stack up of dudes at the first down line. I don't know how it sees the ball. I don't know if there's RFID chips in the ball. I don't know if it's got some sort of read or if it is going to have 15 cameras in an arc over the first down line that are going to monitor and it just needs a peek at the ball. I don't know how that's going to work. So I'm interested. What I do know is that I watched a UFL. I didn't watch a UFL game. A UFL game was on this past weekend while I was doing Bet for the Cycle.
Maybe more than one. I'm not sure.
There were a bunch on.
Okay. All right.
But there just happened to be one on one of the TVs in the Bro Cave while I was doing Bet for the Cycle. And I looked over at one point, and they were using this. And it was great. Because there was a dude on a runaround ride. I think it was a Birmingham game. I could be wrong. I don't remember because, again, I was just kind of half-ass paying attention to it. But the running back goes around the right-hand side. The defensive end gets him, hangs on by the jersey. They are fighting for the first down. They go down right on the marker. Referee stops the play dead. And I'm like, okay. And then the screen just clicks over. And what do they have but a virtual representation of the football on the football field where it was? And it was shy of the first down line to game by yay much. And they went, that's it. That's short. It did not get the yards to gain line. So
did the ball light up or something?
No, it was just it just showed a virtual representation of a football on the field where the first down marker was and said it was X inches shy. Now, again, I got a lot to learn about this tech. I can't wait until this offseason between the draft and rookie camp and then rookie camps in the main camp and then the main camps in the fall camps. I can't wait until we get to peak off season when the NFL needs to keep itself in the limelight, but there is nothing happening. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to do a bunch of pieces on this tech. They're going to take us behind the scenes. They're going to give us the specs and the recs and how it works in the techs. And they're going to show us how the system works. And I can't wait to learn more about it. Like I said, I got the opportunity to see it up close and personal with a NASCAR stock car. I'm interested to see how it translates to the world of football, just like I was with baseball. And then we learned about it, and then we got to see it in action, and it was great. I can't wait to see how it works specifically on a football field. But I do know that tech helps you get calls right. And at the end of the day, the integrity of the game is dictated based on whether or not the dude did the thing. Did he not get the first down? Did he not cross the end zone? Did he not do the thing? And if he did do the thing, he should be credited with doing the thing. And if he didn't do the thing, the defense should be credited with preventing him from doing the thing. It's right there. It's right there. It's not that tough. It's not that difficult. It's right there. And football said, we'll use it for first downs. Now, as of right now, it is only for first downs. And I'll be honest with you, fine by me. Fine by me. I do not know if that includes touchdowns or if it is like legitimately only on first downs and it's still going to be the refs calling whether or not across the goal line. It feels to me like if it's good enough to determine if a running back crossed the first down marker, that it would be fine to use to determine if they cross the end zone marker. Go ahead and use it. We'll find out. I don't really know what the play is there. What I do know is this. When an offensive player is working towards the first down marker and a defensive player is trying to stop him from getting there, one of those two guys is going to do enough to win that battle. The offensive guy is going to work hard enough to get the first down, and the defensive guy is going to work hard enough to stop him from getting the first down, and whoever wins that battle should be correctly awarded for doing so. And this is what that's for. Now, the chain gang will still be on the field. The chain gang will be on the field in 2025 to serve as the backup crew in case there's any issues with the tech, because as anybody who's ever worked anywhere ever can tell you, sometimes your computer bleeps the bed.
Will they be taking a pay cut?
I doubt it.
Because they're no longer necessary.
Here's the thing.
I mean, they're just basically eye candy. Will they be dancing? Will they just not really pay attention?
No, I like the thing that those of you who are against common sense measures to make football better do.
I'm just pro jobs. I'm sorry.
They don't have to go anywhere. You can still have them standing out there with their little sticks going, here's where the mark is.
If this technology works, then they'll be gone next season. They'll find another way for the players to be able to tell what down they're where they are on the field.
I mean, again, if you want to be negative Nancy and sensitive Sally, have at it. That doesn't change that this is good.
I must have a split personality if I get to be both.
You're both of them at the same time. That doesn't change that this is good. This is positive.
By the way, that remains to be seen.
Knowing if it's a first down. I don't understand. How can this be bad? I'll wait.
Because I don't necessarily trust experimental technology
it's not experimental.
until it's proven. Yeah, and other venues. And
they used this last year in NFL games and NFL stadiums. It was tested in NFL games last year.
So they say. Well, we'll see.
Oh, so the NFL's lying.
We'll see. It's
conspiracy.
Of course. We'll see what happens when it gets hacked, and suddenly they're calling first downs when they only went 3 yards. I mean, technology can be hacked. It just can.
I got to tell you, I vote. No more debit cards with chips and all that, because technology can be hacked. No more debit cards.
I'm fine with that. Let's go back to cash. I prefer cash anyway. Your love of robots going to be the end of the world. That's fine.
Well, and so our entire job is technology. We're all going to get hacked. How do y'all even know that it's really me talking to you?
Let's go back to the Bard route. You and I on a horse traveling town to town, telling people what's going on. I'm okay with that. I've never been on a horse, but I guess I could do it. Maybe a real fat donkey.
I don't see an argument that this is a bad thing. I don't. Right? I don't. It's the thing of
wouldn't it be amazing though? Would it if every time the human marks something that the digital technology says they're right? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Look,
if you find out that the human's right every time, that they make sure that the technology doesn't disprove what the human did?
If any of you believe that referees have gotten the first down mark correct 100% of the time, I've got oceanfront property in Arizona. From my front porch, you can see the sea. I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona. And if you'll buy that, I'll throw the Golden Gate in free. That's a country music song. Great.
Is it? I was going to say with earthquakes and things, it's a possibility. That's the entire plot of the first Superman film. When Lex Luthor bought up all the property and then he launched nukes to, take everything out.
From my front porch, you can see the sea. You got some Short Strait, by the way. One of the greatest artists of all time.
Short Strait?
George?
Yeah, I know who George Strait is, but I'm pretty sure you said Short Strait.
I don't think I did. I think I said George Strait, the king of music. Just all of it.
Of all music.
Just all of it.
Of all.
Just all of it. Man, it's got like 70 number one songs.
Is he still around?
Yeah, he's still touring.
Okay, so he's somewhere on his throne. Okay.
You buy that all through the Golden Gate and free.
Do you
an
do you
icon.
think
What
you
a
sound
legend.
like George Strait?
A little bit.
Okay.
I got a little.
All
I got a little George Strait.
I know
in me.
you've continued to sing it, so it must be you think that you sound like the guy. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I've heard a George Strait song before. Doesn't he wear like a white hat or something?
He does.
Okay.
I mean, he wears all kinds of cowboy hats, but he's got that white shirt tucked into the Wranglers with the white cowboy hat look down.
I only wear
hat.
cowboy hats when I win stuff, but that's just me.
Texas said South Carolina fans don't believe that at all. Ask Michigan in the Outback Bowl.
When was this?
Texas said, I trust the technology. I do not trust Roger Goodell. I'm virtually shaking your hand.
The best in the history of all sports
At what?
at doing his job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason why he's still there because he does a great job.
Yeah, if you're an NFL owner, he absolutely does a wonderful job.
Who's he worked for?
The NFL owners.
You know who he doesn't work for? You.
Me.
He does not work for you.
You know, the
That's right.
people who consume
you
the product.
who is never satisfied with anything. There's no way that anything would be perfect in sports.
I'm
You're gonna
satisfied with
find
stuff
something.
all the time.
Okay.
But some things are obviously better the way that I want them done. Like measuring firsting downs with the Hawkeye technology.
We'll see. I'm interested to see if we'll ever even notice. And if we don't notice, if they never point out, oh, well, the Hawkeye technology says that is a first down. If we never hear that in the entire season, then it will fade away.
You will hear it. The first time that Derrick Henry runs into a scrum, disappears into the pile, and the play is called dead, and they go, well, ball's in there somewhere.
Well,
where it was precisely when the whistle blew, Hawkeye will tell us.
I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think they'll stop play. I think it will be simultaneous, that they will just buzz into the ear of the referee and tell him it's a first down. There'll never be any, Hawkeye told us that it's a first down, because that would make the referee look bad. So the technology will tell the referee whether it was a first down or not, and we'll never know.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree. I disagree because this is going to, for many of you old heads, be quite the controversy. And the TV networks are going to go, yeah, we get a little attention here. We get us a little attention by pointing out the fact that this call was made by the Hawkeye technology. They're going to bring it up and go, hey, Hawkeye told old Guns Hockey League Jr.
Listen,
that was a first.
if Hawkeye tells Cleat it was a first down, Cleat is the only one that's going to know, because the league doesn't want Cleat and the boys to look bad.
If they didn't want Cleat and the boys to look bad, this wouldn't be a thing. They would just go, our officials are right all the time. So we don't need this.
I don't remember Cleat's last name. Maybe it's Brakeman or something like that. But Cleat.
I feel like that's close,
Yeah.
but I don't really recall, to be honest with you.
I think Cleat is.
Cleat deserves better.
Cleat's pretty famous as
Yeah.
a referee, just because his name is Cleat.
He's like my fourth favorite all-time referee. Hey, we got to run to a break. Ladies and gentlemen, you know where you don't need technology? You don't need technology when Lonzo reads a sports flash, because it's just infallibly perfect every time.
Wow, do me to fail there. It's a 0-6 or 0-6, however you want to say it. Start for the Atlanta Braves. I don't know if Rob knew that or not. After a 3-1 loss to the Dodgers in L.A. last night, Marcell Azuna's second inning RBI after a Matt Olson double were two of Atlanta's 3 hits on the night. But after building a 1-0 lead, Dodgers shortstop Mookie Betts knocked a 6-inning 2-run shot to take the lead. Atlanta finishes the series against the Dodgers tonight. A career night for Nikola Jokic was wasted in a Nuggets 140-139 double overtime loss to the Timberwolves last night. Jokic scored 61 points and a triple-double, the most points by any player this season and the most points ever in a triple-double in league history. Jokic finished 18 of 29, including 6 threes. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home. Get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, whole lot of fun. It's all Wire to Wire. We're not fighting, Stephen. We are engaging in civil debate. No Molotovs, no fisticuffs, no curse words, which would only be one-sided anyway. Just verbal sparring. Maybe a little bit of trolling. Just a little bit. By the way, if we're really fighting, I'll just be quiet. That's how you know either I'm in extreme pain or we're really fighting. Or, something's going on elsewhere in the building that affects me in a bad way. I know, but every once in a while I try something new, William. I was like, you know what? I've seen people do this and heard it, and I was like, okay, let me see if I can do that too. And turns out I can. Now I'm having to math. This is what I do. It helps you math better. We will probably have a special guest who's in the building roll this way eventually. The other Rob.
Oh, okay, cool.
The better Rob.
Yeah.
As Cameron calls him, the exalted Rob. He's not really the better Rob. The better Rob doesn't work here
He
anymore.
owns a comic book store.
He does. There's accusations of us fighting. I'm just like, no, that's not what that is. I get it. There's probably some distortion that happens, William, when he really gets into it. I try to monitor levels, but when he gets that ribbon moving inside, I don't even know if there's a ribbon in the mics anymore, but if there, I believe there is, and it gets taxed sometimes. Hey, look, it's 8 o'clock.
Cracker.
You stay classy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. It is the Fan Upstate. Hello to you, and how do you do? Yeah! Upstate South Carolina. What up, America? Howdy, world. Great to have you. I spent like the first 2 hours of the show Spent like the first 2 hours of the show with Phil Collins, studio in my head.
Whoa.
No, I got George Strait in there, and I'm not going to say it's an improvement, but I'm not going to say that.
Wow, we're tied now.
1-1.
I don't even know if you noticed.
I did. 1-1.
The fact that you can't see my face anymore, I thought maybe I could.
I could hear it over the music in my headphones.
Wow, you
I know.
could?
Yeah. So we have talked about a bunch of different stuff, but I want to go back to a text message that UNC Chris sent in to the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. That is the number. It is the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. It's also the call-in line, 844-326-3663. Chris, when I was talking earlier this glorious day about the fact that last night was an incredible night in the National Basketball Association. We had some history go down in a couple of spots last night. Nikola Jokic scored 61 in a triple-double. It was the most points in NBA history scored in a triple-double, 61, 10, and 10. And the Nuggets lost that game. They lost that game in part because they allowed 111 field goal attempts in the same game.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, Bob.
I mean, I don't know what the average is, but I'm thinking it's not that.
The Minnesota Timberwolves lifted up 111 field goal attempts. They made 52 of them. That is good for a 46.8% shooting night. That is not as good as what the Milwaukee Bucks did because they shot 68.9%. That's almost 69% from the floor last night in their game. And if those two stories weren't enough, Steph Curry knocked down a dozen threes en route to a 52-point performance in a win over the Memphis Grizzlies. That not only won them the game, but it also won them the season series 3-1, meaning that should those two teams who are within a game of each other for the fifth spot in the conference and the season tied, Steph last night helped his team win the tiebreaker, meaning that they are de facto up 2 games in the race. Last night was a splendid evening in the National Basketball Association.
Wonderful.
That's a great clip. And exactly correct. And so I was talking about the fact back at the end of hour number 1. I was talking about the fact that nights like last night in the NBA were one of the reasons that I get kind of frustrated when I hear people pooping on the NBA. It bothers me a little bit. It bothers me because there's a lot of great players doing a lot of great things. There's a lot of great teams doing a lot of great things. There's a lot. You should have been excited last night.
If ratings are down, they're down. I mean, that's not the people do. If the people may be reacting to the news that ratings are down, but.
And my take on that was just that. It is difficult for me to get people excited, I think, about the NBA. When I come in here and I spend a couple of hours going, hey, Jokic, 61, 10, and 10 last night. If you're not watching Nikola Jokic play basketball, I don't know what the hell to tell you. SGA's got a handful of 50-pointers this year. That kid's a stud. The Thunder, pretty good. Steph Curry dropped a dozen trays last night, scored 52. He is the second player aged 35 years or older to record multiple 50-point outlets. Do you know who the first player in NBA history to age 35 or more to put up multiple 50-point games? You know who that is? LeBron James, who's still playing and playing well. Lakers on a bit of a mini tear right now. There's a lot going on in the NBA, and so it's frustrating to me to have all this going on, to have a night like we had last night in the association. And for me to come in here and go, guys, if you ain't watching the NBA, you're missing out, man. If you're not watching the NBA, you're missing some good. You're missing Nikola Jokic. You're missing Steph Curry. You're missing LeBron James. You're missing SGA. You're missing Giannis Antetokounmpo. You're missing the Milwaukee Bucks shooting 69% from the floor. You're missing. And then I go the rest of the day. And what do I hear? But just about every other show is doing one of two things. Either A, they are poo-pooing the league and going, oh, ratings are down. NBA is bad. Too many three-point shots. Yada, 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 yada. Which I go, like, all right. I mean, I get it. There was an NBA game earlier this year where two teams lifted 75 combined three-pointers. That is a lot. As I've talked about, there's actually a math reason for that. Not going to go down that bump, but there's actually a math reason that you're getting that many three-pointers this year. But there's another issue, too. And UNC Chris texted the show about an hour ago with a take that I wanted to address. He said, Chris said, the NBA has a problem because major media only hits on New York and the Lakers. Why do the Knicks suck and LeBron is good, LeBron is bad? How will LeBron's latest fart affect the league? They give crumbs of attention to other teams unless they score unprecedented numbers somehow, in my opinion, anyway. That's from Chris. And Chris, I think to some degree you're absolutely correct. If you follow the show for any length of time, and I think I hit on this yesterday, but it's apropos for this conversation. You know that we are inching ever closer to one of my least favorite 2 weeks of the season. It is the 2 weeks, the week leading up to the NBA regular season finale and the week after the NBA regular season finale. The annual elimination of my New Orleans Pelicans from playoff consideration. And the reason it is one of my least favorite times of the year is because the annual trope that we get into. The annual trope of, I think LeBron should leave. No, excuse me. I think Zion should leave the Pelicans. He should go to the Knicks. If Zion would get up out of small market New Orleans and go play for the Lakers, he could make $1 billion. Let us have nice things. Just let us have nice things, right? Just please let us have nice things. By the way, Zion Williamson and C.J. McCollum both shut down for the year for the Pelicans. So we have embraced the suck. Pretty excited about that. Anyway, it is very frustrating, and I don't disagree. Yesterday afternoon. Now, this was before Jokic scored 61 in a triple-double in a loss, most points ever in a triple-double effort. Before Steph Curry knocked down a dozen threes and scored 52 in a win. Before the Bucks shot almost 60% from the floor. Before all of that happened, Ryan Horvat and I, to open BetMGM tonight last night, we're talking basketball. And one of the conversations we were having was, who are the dogs in the Eastern Conference that could theoretically upset the Boston Celtics? And we were given some of the teams that maybe create matchup issues that we like, or a couple of the teams that maybe if they were able to, sweep at home against Boston, maybe they could steal one on the road from the Celtics and get that dub, whatever. And it was a real good conversation. We had Mario involved, a real good conversation. And then we go to a break. And when we go to a break, when I'm doing that show at the crib, I'm sitting in the gaming chair, I swivel over to the 75, and I just kind of check out what's on TV. Just flip around. Baseball games, NBA games, NHL games, whatever. And as I was flipping across one of the channels, there was an NBA game on TV, actively happening. And they go to, was it Trailblazers, Hawks, maybe? I don't know. One of the 76ers, Knicks. I don't know which game was on because I was like just kind of half paying attention to it. And as I turned to the TV with this NBA game on, they go to a break. And when they go to a break, it was just that. They had a conversation about LeBron James. The Lakers, and I checked the schedule to make sure. The Lakers were not playing last night. And yet, while a game is on, and again, the four teams that were playing in the early slot, only one of them was good, the Knicks, who, by the way, knocked off Philly 105-91 last night. Quentin Grimes had 26 points and 3 steals in that game. While there was one good team that was playing last night, one playoff team. The Sixers stink, the Hawks stink, the Blazers stink. And this is kind of a part of the problem. And I'm going to come to that in a second. But while these teams are playing, I tune in, and what is the conversation that they are having? Conversation that they are having is, are the Lakers relying too much on LeBron James? And I'm like, the Lakers aren't playing right now. They're not. I'm going to go ahead and guess right now. We've got the TV on one of the major talking head networks right now. And appreciative of the fact that they are talking about the Timberwolves-Nuggets game. They are talking about the fact that Russell Westbrook is kind of ruining the Nuggets right now. Russell Westbrook stunk in the late fourth and through both overtimes last night. Was trying to do too much. It's like, I don't know if you know this, Russ, Jokic has got a 60-burger working. Maybe give him the ball. That's a conversation to have. I'm going to go ahead and guess that when this show ends and we move on to the next one, it's going to be LeBron-centric.
Yeah,
now,
but you know Bill Ryder hates LeBron, so of course he's going to be talking about.
No,
it
I'm talking about on the major TV.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm talking about on the major TV nets. I'm not talking about on the radio networks, which, you know, there's a billion radio stations with 15 different major networks that span America. I'm talking about on the two on TV that everybody watch. And again, I get it. At the end of the day, TV has one objective, and that's to get as many people watching their show as they can. And if you need somebody to watch your show, you hit the biggest demographic. The Los Angeles television market is the largest in America. The New York television market is the second. So you're going to dial in on those teams. I understand it. But the NBA is going to have to start doing something to fix this problem. Because what that creates is a self-fulfilling prophecy. You end up in a spot where if I want team coverage, I can only go to the team outlets. Everywhere else is going to talk not about them. The next time, and again, I get it right now because my birds are metaphorically cooked. The Pelly's shutting down Zion and CJ. We're embrace the tank mode. But
How many games,
even when
how many
we
games
weren't,
are left in the season?
I don't know.
I'm just-
We played 70, like 10.
Okay, so
Ballpark.
that's not bad. I mean, it's not like there's 35 left. And
No.
they're shutting them down.
We're in the 60s and 70s now. So like 10 to 12. The shutdown took longer than I thought it would. I'll put it that way. And Zion's going to have 40 some odd games played
You
this
should
season.
be excited about this. The fact that he's still playing,
Stayed mostly
so
healthy
he
this year.
can be shut down.
I agree. Stayed mostly healthy.
Usually, it's his own body that shuts him down.
And now that he is shut down, what I'm very excited about is that sometime in the next 3 days, I'm going to have to listen to that one loudmouth Knicks fan screaming about how they should just have Zion. They should just get him.
I thought you were going to say the guys that go, okay, you shut down. Please don't go eat.
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about that one loudmouth Knicks fan who's going to get on TV and just talk as if they just deserve to have him because they're New York and we're not.
Does that loudmouth have a show?
Yes.
Okay.
A few of them, I believe. Point here is the NBA has entered into this self-fulfilling prophecy where they've created this product that is so star-driven that the people who cover it just focus on the stars. And then the stars end up gravitationally pulling themselves to each other in two big markets. And so we dial in on those, and then everybody else kind of fades off into obscurity, which stinks. Because, again, last night was a great night in the NBA. Great night in the NBA. But because there weren't a lot of, like, premier highlight star v star games last night, not a lot of people were checked in. Last night should have been a historic night. Last night should be a night that the NBA puts out a report today that goes, we had the highest regular season single night ratings bump that we've had in a decade. Because Jokic was out there dropping a 60-burger. Steph was dropping a 50-burger. The Bucks were shooting 70% almost from the floor. That should be what we're talking about today. And instead, I promise you, the conversation's going to be about which of the Milwaukee Bucks, with the struggle they're having this year, despite the fact that they have been a top-performing team in the league for the last 5 or 6 years. I promise you at some point today, the question's going to be, should Giannis leave the Bucks? Watch. The question today when Nikola Jokic is out there scoring 61. It's just going to be yet another should Nikola Jokic win the MVP conversation. Same conversation that's been going on for 6 weeks now. Same conversation is going to happen today. Not talking about the Nuggets, not talking about the fact that they are on their way up, not talking about the fact that Russell Westbrook dragged this team down and how Jokic, no player should get 61 and a triple-double and lose a game. Just shouldn't happen, but they did because of, I hate to put it all on one guy, but Westbrook tanked last night. All this going on, and it's going to be the same 2 or 3 conversations over and over. And it gets frustrating because it feels like they do it to themselves. Texter said, Rob, if you're not watching Alex Ovechkin in the NHL, you are missing out. I agree completely. I actually did watch that. I got enough space on the monitor TV to watch 2 games while I do the show. Washington-Boston was one of those games last night. I did watch career goal number 891 with about 4 minutes left to go in the first period when Avi took an across-the-crease pass and put it into an empty net to bring himself within 4 of breaking the Great Ones record. And we will probably talk about that later in the show. I got a bunch more to talk about, including, when we come back, Dave Canales' take on Xavier Leggett and more. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Boop. All right, guys, give us 2 minutes. Be right back. Don't go nowhere. You know what? I am increasingly happy that the tush push did not get banned. For those of you that missed it earlier, we talked a little bit about this. We didn't spend a ton of time on this, so I'll go ahead and get back to it now on a bit of a shorter segment. The NFL's competition committee met at the owners' meetings. They will meet again in May. There is still the potential for this play to be banned moving forward. According to reports, including Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports, half of the league's teams wanted the tush push banned. Half of the league's teams did not want the tush push banned. We have seen some, like Bills coach Sean McDermott, whose team has tried to run the tush push and failed spectacularly at doing so. He has openly spoken out against the play, which makes sense because he doesn't want it to happen. So it will make sense that he doesn't want anyone to be allowed to make it happen. I did not see this until Lonzo sent it to me last night. Played you the clip on Monday from Sean McVay, head coach of the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay did not outright say that he wanted it banned or not banned, but it damn sure sounded like he did. And he made two predominant arguments about it. Number one, he said, it's not a football play, it's a rugby play, which is wrong. It is a football play. I know that because I've watched a football team made of football players do it on a football field during a football game. I believe those are the qualifications necessary to label something a football play. Number two, he said it's a health and safety initiative. I did not see this quote, but Lonzo sent it to me during the break. Apparently, or last night, whatever. Apparently, the Ginger Hammer, Roger Goodell, had a statement about the tush push. He said, and I quote, I think there are safety issues being considered with the tush push. We have very little data, but we see the potential risk. It makes a lot of sense to go back to the old rule prohibiting pulling or pushing ball carriers. I find this statement from Roger Goodell very interesting for two reasons.
By the way, did you check it to make sure? Because I sent it to you yesterday, and it was April 1st.
It was April 1st. If this was a prank, it's a real dumb one. And it comes from somebody that, while they have become a bit of a troll on Twitter, they've also usually been right way more than wrong. So I will treat it for now as if it is legitimate and genuine. And I'm willing to do so because it is effectively the same comment that Sean McVay made. But the quote from Roger says, quote, if it is from Roger, and again, I'm going to assume for now it is.
All right. I looked up other sources of this.
Okay, perfect. The quote from Roger Goodell is, quote, I think there are safety issues being considered with the tush push. We have very little data, but we see the potential risk. It makes a lot of sense to go back to the old rule prohibiting pulling or pushing the ball carriers, end quote. I find this quote from Roger Goodell interesting for two reasons. The first is the fact that he mentions the health and safety. And then in the same sentence, he says, we have very little data, but we see the potential risk. Okay, so we are going to start making rash decisions about major changes to the game based on potential? Is that what we're going to do, Raj? We are going to consider drastic changes to the games based on what might go wrong.
If you jump off of a building, you potentially could hurt yourself. So I get it.
If you jump off of a building, you will inevitably hurt yourself.
There's a chance that you won't.
No. There's not. Lonzo, if anyone jumps off the top of this building, they are going to be injured.
I didn't say what might be below them.
Doesn't matter. Okay? Because now you're starting to create hypotheticals when what I am saying is, historically speaking, If you jump off of a 2-story building, I'm going to say, even if we include like movie stunt guys, I'd say it's probably about a 98% chance you're bleeped, right? Data. That's data-driven. That is, to not jump off the building is a data-driven, even if you don't know it is. We've all stood on top of a tall building and looked down and went, yeah, I probably shouldn't jump and should probably be careful not to fall. That's a data-driven decision because you are aware that, especially the higher you go up, the closer to 100%, the old calculator ticks that you're going to get bleeped up. And I don't want that. Roger here says, we have very little data. I'm not saying no one's ever been injured on the tush push. What I'm saying is, if there was even a handful of guys who have been injured on the tush push, then people like Sean McVay, who have been saying it's a health and safety issue, would talk about that. They would go, oh, well, we've lost X amount of linemen for X amount of games because of the tush push. But that data's not there. So to say this is a health and safety violation is wrong. It's wrong. It's kind of when politicians very clearly lie about things in order to pass something that we all know benefits their pocketbook when it happens. It's a lie. Okay? I do not want to hear that argument again. Well, it's health and safety. All right. Well, the other reason I don't want to hear that argument again, and I talked about this yesterday, but it fits here, so I'll bring it back up again. The NFL is moving touchbacks from the 30 out to the 35-yard line. According to the NFL, the expectation is that will increase the number of kickoffs returned to roughly 70%. If there are 10 kickoffs in a game, they expect 7 of them will be returned. I've already given you the numbers behind why. We don't have to go down that path again. But suffice to say, it will make sense for teams to kick the ball to the goal line and force a return as opposed to kicking it through and forcing a touchback. Here is what we know over the past 2 years. In the last year of the regular kickoff, the old kickoff, the classic kickoff, and in the first year, last year, of the NFL's new dynamic kickoff, NFL players sustained the same number of concussions. Remember, the premise behind the dynamic kickoff was to reduce concussions. It did reduce concussions if you average it out to concussions per return, in which case there were less concussions. But in the cumulative number of concussions, that is to say the actual number of concussions sustained by NFL players on kickoffs, the number was identical. The same number of concussions were sustained in the first year of the dynamic kickoff as the last year of the old style of kickoff. And so in the very next year, when the same number of concussions happened from the old kickoff to the new kickoff, fewer concussions per return, but the same number of concussions. In a year in which that number played out that way, the NFL immediately goes, yeah, but we can have more returns. If we move the football from the 30 out to the 35 on touchback, that will spur more kickoff returns. So based on what we've seen so far, the total number of concussions sustained was identical from 23 and 24, old kickoff to new kickoff. The number of concussions per return went down, but the number of concussions, end of sentence, stayed the same. So, if that trend holds serve, we will have more concussions sustained on kickoffs next year than we did the last 2 years. If that is true and those trends stay the same, and I'm willing to listen to the argument of we don't really have the right sample size, right? Last year was the first year of the dynamic kickoff. It was the first time that NFL players had to play a kickoff that way. Perhaps after a year of running kickoff coverage or kickoff return teams having experience, maybe that trend goes the other way. Maybe after a year of the dynamic kickoff, special teams coaches will have a way to coach the kickoff team and the kickoff return team. Hey, here's a couple of ways you can decrease the odds that you get a concussion. Maybe we see the number go down, but we don't have any reason to believe that it will. We will find out. I do not want to hear that you are banning a play that a special player in Jalen Hurts, because he can squat an F-150, is kicking everybody's ass with. And using the lame excuse of, well, it's a health and safety issue. No, it's not. Because if it was a health and safety issue, which, okay, I understand. If it was a health and a safety issue, you would not move the touchback. You just wouldn't. If it was a health and safety issue, you would not be making a change to the game designed exclusively to increase the number of kickoff returns, because you are going to generate more concussions than you generated with the old style of kickoff. If you genuinely and truly wanted to minimize injury, make it a health and safety issue. Honestly, you'd get rid of kickoffs entirely. You would just get rid of them. You would say, they're too dangerous. Here's how we're going to do it. After a score, to open the first half, to open the second half, a team will put the ball on the 15-yard line. They will have one free play to gain as much yardage as they can. The next play will be 1st and 10 from wherever that spot is. That way you have that variability, but it's now on the offense and the defense. But that's not what you're doing. You move the kickoff up 5 yards. The touchback line up 5 yards. Why? To generate more returns. You want 3/4 of all kickoffs to be returned. That is going to lead to an increase in concussions from the last year of the old kickoff. So do not tell me you are looking at banning the tush push and in the same sentence say, we don't really have the data to support that there is an increased risk of injury, when you are actively doing something that is going to increase the risk of injury elsewhere. The reality here is Philly has found a way to utilize the special talent of a special player to do something that y'all can't figure out how to stop. So you're going to legislate it out of the game instead of defense it out of the game. That is, what's the word I'm looking for? Lame. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Hey, when was Benetti coming on?
Next segment.
Okay. Because Rob will probably roll in here around 9. I just want to make sure it didn't clash.
All right, guys, we're going to step away and get Mark Benetti signed up. You all stay right there.
Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbit, is going to be joining us either a little later in this segment or we may have to push him back in the show just a little bit. He is running behind, quote, tremendously, end quote. His words, not mine. So we'll see. He is working on getting to a computer right now. We will see when we can get old Marcus Benetti in here. I'll let you know. Buddy. By the way, I dropped that yesterday on Horvat on BetMGM tonight. Final hour. We got to a point and I was like, hey, relax, buddy. And he was watching something on the TV and he just head turned to the TV or to the camera like, did you just call me buddy?
See, you don't think it's when someone calls you buddy, they're usually mad at you and they're coming at you.
I don't think so.
If it's your buddy, you go, yeah, that's my boy, that's my buddy.
Told you. I have also adopted into a positive. Like, dude, nice job, buddy. Like, that's a positive.
It does not come, no matter how much you try to spin it, when you say buddy, it comes across as very sarcastic. So you're saying it's intentional?
No. I'm saying I'm saying I think sometimes you take stuff negatively that's not meant to be.
You just pointed out that someone else did too. So maybe I am not singular in this. Maybe you are.
Buddy.
So when you're on an island and you don't know you're on an island and people keep telling you you're on an island, maybe you should look and notice that there's water all around you. I'm just saying. I just don't know. Maybe. Possibly.
Mark Benetti going to join us in the 9:20 segment. I believe that's going to give him time to get to the hockey rink and get himself set up in front of a computer. So we'll talk some Swamp Bunnies hockey coming up here in about we'll call it about 40 minutes. We will have Mark
because
Benetti.
Traffic's really heavy around this time of morning. I mean, look out there right now. Traffic it's rough. I mean, how's anyone getting around out
because
there?
Those of us in the media don't work on hard schedules, buddy. We work on soft schedules. It's my favorite thing.
I'm sorry, I was coming at your
Buddy.
Buddy. Okay, let's get some more stuff in here real quick. I'll go with this since we are a little bit behind on Mark Benetti, buddy, of the show.
Pal,
I feel is a little bit more apropos for your take.
Oh no, it's the same. It's basically the same word with the same tone.
Buddy. So, Carolina Panthers, we were talking draft last night on BetMGM tonight. And the conversation that we had last night was about the teams across the NFC South. We were going back and forth about who's going to do what. What does Tampa need? I think defensive back is probably a priority. I think all four teams in the league need edge rushers. Shocking. We were talking about this too. Like, the number of teams in the first round that need to go edge rusher vastly outweighs the number of edge rushers. Like, there's a handful, and there's a lot of teams that need edge rushers. Any hoodles, one of the spots that Ryan Horvat and I both agreed on that the Carolina Panthers need to go is wide receiver. They need a true number one. You know who disagrees with that, or at least sounds like he does? Dave Canales.
At it, having a preseason one joint practice, feeling like we could, at that point in camp, we are hitting good conditioning levels and football readiness to be able to go against somebody else, and just try to make sure we get intensity. And when you add competition, you get intensity, and so we just felt like this was a great opportunity to kind of have a good exposure, controlled exposure for our players.
Okay, that's not the clip I wanted to play.
Instead, we heard
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I like Dave Canales a lot. Not the most confidence-inspiring take so far. Anyway, what Dave Canales went on to say was that he believes that they already have their number one wide receiver in the building. He believes that Xavier Legette is already that number one wide receiver. Said he's very bullish on the wide receiver group that they have in the building.
what in the wide world of sports is going on here?
I pushed the wrong one.
Oh man, I don't really know what it's at.
That'd be great, man.
Slipped a little. What can I say?
Carolina Panther head coach says he does want to add competition to as many positions as possible in the building during the offseason, but did go on to say that he has quite a bit of optimism about the wide receiver group. Said, quote, I love the guys we have, and quote, of course, Xavier Legette coming off an up and down rookie campaign did produce 4 receiving touchdowns, but production took a big time dip down the final stretch of the season. A lot of that had to do with wrist and foot injuries that were hampering him throughout the regular season. Dan Morgan did confirm that Xavier Legette underwent a procedure this offseason to clean out a foot injury. We know that because when he did his Reese's Lava Cup commercial that we played for you a couple of weeks ago because it was absolutely incredible. When that happened, he was wearing a boot, so we knew he had the surgery already. But Dan Morgan went ahead and confirmed that. Anyway.
I don't know. I just saw I think it's a recent video of him riding a horse. I didn't notice a boot.
That's Dollar Bill, man.
Yeah, I don't think it was Dollar Bill. I think it was a different
No, he's
one.
got like 4. He got a new horse. I forgot the name, but he gave it a really, he gave it another. His horses have kick-ass names. Anyway, Canales said about Xavier Legette, quote, I think everything affects everyone. He had the foot injury. He's a rookie. It's a long season. I think it's all those things. So that's a good challenge for Xavier this year, just like taking 1 week at a time, focusing on the game, getting yourself out to the field healthy, and having a plan and a process for the body going into it. I think we've got that guy, and I think it's Xavier Legette. And I think it's up to the coaches to continue to develop and let him grow at his pace. And so for me, a great goal for Xavier Legette is just let's take the next step. This is going to be the first off season with us from phase 1 all the way through, and I just love to see where that goes. You've got a guy that's 6'2.5", 225 pounds, and runs a 4.3, and he's a playmaker, and it's on film. So let's start with that and take the next step with him. The reason Canales got asked about this was that apparently the Carolina Panthers were in on the DK Metcalf sweepstakes a couple of weeks ago before he got sent over to Pittsburgh in a blockbuster deal that I, honestly, after seeing what Pittsburgh did, I wouldn't have wanted the Panthers to make that move. I think you go get a wide receiver. By the way, I think there's going to be a couple of good wide receivers available if you want to go wide receiver at 9, which I don't. I want him to build defensively. But I'm fine with this. Listen, there's one knock on Xavier Legette, and that one knock is that the hands aren't wildly consistent yet. But the way that I saw him catch a handful of footballs last year, they're there.
It took him a while to get going with the Gamecocks too, but once he did, he was a standout player. I am curious what position would the Panthers pick that would make it go, oh, that was a mistake?
Quarterback.
Yeah, I knew that's where you were going to go. Other than your baby boy, other than that, is there any other place that they should not go? Because they have needs everywhere.
I agree. It depends on, are we selling out for this year? By the way, I said last night on the show, and I'll say it again here. I honestly think Carolina can win this division next year.
I want to tell you that while prepping in the morning, there have been several different overnight hosts while they're trying to nail down what they're going to do with the network, and I've heard several of them pick the Panthers to win the South.
Yeah.
So it's not an unusual pick. I'm shocked by it, only a little, because anybody can win the South. It's just a matter of a game or two.
I think Tampa's taking a step back. I think the Saints are probably 3 to 5
Tampa would
years.
step back last year too, and they didn't.
I mean, they weren't.
Because Canales left, and the thought was, and I think it was your thought, was that they would drop off some because of what he was able to do with Baker. And, did they really drop off?
I honestly, I think they did. I just think everybody else wasn't as good either. Listen, if the Panthers got to Bryce Young at week 1 instead of week 9, they win the division last year, right? Like if the Saints had one of the best 4-game starts of anybody in the league, and then they just tanked off. If they would have maintained, they would have won. Atlanta should have won the division, but they blew it twice.
They did, but so you're saying the Saints don't have a shot at all with all the moves they made?
We stink. We stink, and we're going to stink again next year. I think Carolina can absolutely, sincerely win this division, and I don't think it's like a homer pick to say so. Horvat said the same thing unprompted by me last night. But I do think it will have a lot to do with if Xavier Legette can get to that spot. And again, this is a dude that the entire offseason for me is, XL, stand in front of that jugs machine, and I'm going to fire 1,000 footballs a day at you. And you can stop when you catch all of them. Because if the hands get there, I do think the kid's a playmaker. And I'm not just saying this because I think he's the most entertaining dude in the National Football League.
That'll be great, man.
Though I'm not saying he's not that. I think that the dude is, as mentioned, 6'2", 225. Canales says he runs a 4.3. I think it's more like a 4.4, 4.2, somewhere in that neighborhood. Still fast for that size dude.
Stopwatches work differently in camps. They do.
I think if he ran a 4.3, it's because Cole Bryson timed him.
He was probably running right beside him with the stopwatch while he was doing it.
Yeah, that's my guess. No, I think the dude can do it. I think it needs to be more consistent hands. I think he's hungry. I think he likes playing football. I think he can absolutely be BY's guy. Now, that's not to say that if I'm Carolina, I'm not looking for a wide receiver deeper down in the draft. I am saying if I'm looking for a wide receiver, I'm looking for a wide receiver deeper down in the draft. If Carolina goes with Ted McMillan out of Arizona, which, by the way,
let me just, I need to correct you on something. In the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine, South Carolina wide receiver Xavier Legette ran a 4.39 40-yard dash.
Okay. A 4.39.
So he ran a 4.3.
I mean, it's a 4.4, but I'll give it to him.
There's a 3 in there, so he ran a 4.3. So it was accurate by the coach.
I mean, a 4.39 is a 4.4.
It is not. It's a 4.39, dude.
I round up. Whatever it is, the point is I think he can be that guy. If they go Ted McMillan, and my question mark, I asked this of Ryan last week. I may ask it again. I think we talked about it on Friday. There was a podcast that went around with Ted McMillan out of Arizona, considered by many to be the number one at the worst number 2 wide receiver in this draft, where, and I didn't write down the name of the podcast, and that's on me because it happened over the weekend, where Ted McMillan was asked, like, how do you study game film? Like, what are you looking for on film? And he said, yeah, I don't really watch film. Now, there's this weird mental shift for me because, like, in years gone by, that would have been a spot where I'm like, I'm out on this guy. If he's not willing to watch game film, I'm out on this guy. But there's also Nikola Jokic, who, like, could not care less about basketball. He just does it because he happens to be really, 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 really good at it. So I'm not as, like, anti-Ted McMillan as I probably would have been in years gone by. I'm still not super comfortable with him. However, if he and Golden Tate and every other wide receiver are on the board when the Panthers go on the clock at pick number 8, I really don't want to see him go wide receiver there. I'd really rather see them wait. I don't think there's a wide receiver. Now, if there was a wide receiver that it's like that dude's a franchise dude, then maybe I could be talked into it. But didn't we just do that with Marvin Harrison Jr. last year? And was it, like, I would make the argument of the top 10 picks from last year, I would argue Marvin Harrison Jr. was the biggest bust of the draft last year.
He was not a bust.
I'm not saying he's a bust yet.
Yeah, he was not. They put his comparison to his dad's, and they were almost identical in their rookie years. And remember who's throwing to him. And did you see him drop a bunch of balls? You can only catch what's thrown to you.
No, but I did see him not having an impact in a way that he was getting himself open to get football.
So I'm blaming the quarterback.
I know you are. I'm unshocked by that entirely.
Even though he's over 6 foot tall, I'm still blaming the quarterback.
What a legacy that one dude has.
I will never forget that, ever.
The point here is any guy that you take thinking he's going to be an immediate impact franchise guy has the risk of being a Marvin Harrison Jr. whose numbers just aren't there to support it. Blame whoever you want to blame for it. But I really don't want to see him go wide receiver because I'm kind of with Dave Canales on this. I kind of think XL, if he develops those hands, and I do think he has the potential to do so, I really think Xavier Legette can be a dog at the wide receiver position. So we'll see where it goes. Coming up in the next hour of the show, we got Mark Bonetti joining us at 9:20. May have a very special guest in the next segment. And yes, I will be talking baseball. Probably not the Braves.
I have encouraged that person to come down and talk about the Braves with you.
Well, here's the good news. You only got to change the second half of my name if he takes over the show.
Especially considering who his favorite team is.
Yeah, Sports Flash.
Best intro ever. Clemson baseball stays in the win column with a 10-8 victory over Georgia Southern last night in North Augusta. Colin Priest, Tristan McClatty, and Josh Pano all had multi-RBI days, while Joe Allen recorded the win with 1.2 innings that included 2 hits, 1 earned run, and a pair of Ks. Talon Bell got the start going 3 innings and allowing 2 hits and no runs. The Gamecocks picked up win number 17 with an 11-1 run rule spanking over Presbyterian last night. Jackson Susi was credited with the win, striking out 2 in 1 inning, while Parker Marlott and Brendan Sweeney each pitched a scoreless relief inning. Make sure you tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. You know, I stopped calling it that brand new show because it's not brand new. It's still new. It's all Wire to Wire. Not yet, Stephen. Sorry for not talking. I'm not talking because I'm busy. Will Rob make it back in time? He has. Will our other guest be here?
I have not seen him.
Maybe not. It wasn't a definite. What was his response? He's on to Rise Guys till 9, so. He's hitting the car wash. I don't know that we can call it that. There's only a couple people who could actually be on every station. and to be relevant, I suppose.
I mean, not yet. I'm still here for at least the next 54-ish minutes of broadcasting excellence. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob the Great with Lonzo and you. Be a part of the show, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line and call-in line. And it's 844-326-3663, 844-FAN-FONE. If you want to join us, you are welcome to do so. At the NFL owners' meetings, Roger Goodell gave a bit of a press conference yesterday, talked about a number of topics. One of them is that the NFL is considering allowing NFL players to compete in the 2028 Olympic flag football competition. Flag football being added to the Summer Olympic Games of 2028, hosted by Los Angeles, California. And Raj said they are considering allowing NFL players to compete in that. I consider this a direct result of the NFL or the NHL's Four Nations face-off. Granted, this is not obviously full-fledged football, but it is the closest you are going to get to allowing NFL players to compete in any sort of international competition. And as the Four Nations face-off proved, dadgummit, if we don't love watching the best in the world do best in the world stuff.
Really? Because, I mean, it's football, but it's not football. I mean, you know, it's flag football.
I am willing to watch DK Metcalf catch passes from Joe Burrow. I am willing to watch Jamar Chase sky and like Vince Carter, some poor South Korean dude in a flag football competition that makes us all go,
That's right. Dadgummit. Football's ours, whether it's flag or otherwise.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. I
mean, not football, but like American football.
Well,
you know?
Football is football.
Right, American football.
Everything
right.
else is soccer.
No, football, and then there's American
Soccer.
football. I'm willing to watch us kick ass in American football. We have consistently gotten asses kicked.
Yeah, because other
in regular
sport,
football.
soccer, we don't win at that.
Yeah, football.
But football,
No, we don't win at that. I'm working on it. I'm gonna need my guy Mauricio to figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, this weekend is a big weekend right here in Greenville, South Carolina, especially those of us who are sports and also gigantic nerds, which I say in the most positive and complimentary way, mainly because I'm talking about myself here. This weekend is South Carolina Comic-Con taking place at the Greenville Convention Center. It is going to be an incredible weekend, and here to talk about that and probably the fact that his Dodgers are about to finish the sweep, waxing that Braves. My guy, Rob Young from Borderlands Comics and Game. What's up, big fella?
Dude, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I did the Dodgers win last night?
You know what, Rob? I've already gotten enough from this guy over here. I don't need it from you two, okay? No, my Braves are 0-6.
Dude, that is, you know the winning streak they're going to go on? Because that team, like.
No, Rob, I don't.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
We don't have a Spencer Strider. We don't have a Ronald Acuna Jr. Michael Harris II hit one home run and disappeared. Austin Riley hit one home run and disappeared. Matt Olson has hit one double in the last 3 games and is hitless outside of that. Marcell Ozuna has gotten like 1 RBI, I think, on the season so far. We stink, brother, and your team has a payroll that is the GDP of most developing countries.
Doggone it. That's horrible. I hate it when professional sports teams actually spend money on their players.
No.
It drives me crazy.
I want to be real clear. I am not a Dodgers hater for it. I'm not. Like, I know a lot of my baseball buddies are like, oh, they're ruining baseball. You're not ruining baseball. There's a set of rules. You guys have followed it. Every other team has the right to do the same thing. I'm not mad about that at all. What I'm mad about is that the fact that the National League is just the most anticlimactic thing I've seen since, like, anytime Superman's on a movie screen. You know who's winning.
Nobody's talking about the Padres. And I'm not a Padres fan, but they are 6-0.
There is no. Here's the thing. I can go right now and talk to 100 baseball fans and go, who's winning the National League? And if somebody goes, what do you think about the Padres? They're a Dodgers fan.
Well, because you actually know how good they are.
I know.
They nearly beat us last year.
Oh, no, listen, the Padres are good. I'm not arguing the Padres
really
aren't good. The Padres are really good. The Padres just also swept the Braves to start the season. The Padres are really good. There's a lot of good talent. Manny Machado is kind of looking like a dog again, and I like that. The Dodgers are a cheat code, pal. Like, here's the thing. The only thing that's more annoying than the anti-Dodgers people saying that the Dodgers are winning baseball are you guys pretending like you're humble. Like, you're not. It's okay.
I was rooting for them when they were atrocious and losing 100
Sure.
games, so I'm going to enjoy this. But the crazy thing for me was, for years, I didn't think that Andrew Friedman appreciated relief pitching. I think he believed it was some kind of, like, random stat thing. And now when they went out and got a bullpen, it's starting to get kind of crazy because they've got, even just Blake Treinen, man. That he throws stuff that looks like it's on a Sega Genesis baseball game. Like, that stuff's breaking all over the place.
You guys have, I'm going to say 3 starting guys that could be Cy Young finalists. Genuinely.
If anybody could pitch innings anymore, like now if you win 9 games, they go, ooh, he could get the Cy Young. He won 9 games. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had this conversation. So on Saturdays, I host Bet for the Cycle with Cody Decker. He's a former MLB player. And we've had this conversation before about the fact that starting pitchers, like most starting pitchers, you're getting like 135-ish innings a year out of them, right? And back in the day, you were getting 220 innings a year out of these guys.
260, 300.
Yeah. But Deck also made the point that on any given staff, you got guys like Paul Skeens who are putting it over the dish at 103. Like, the arms just wear out faster. So you kind of have a decision to make. Do I want more innings, but I'm like, keep it to 94, 95, and then I got to have a placement pitcher? Or do I want a guy who can put it over the dish at 103.5 miles an hour, but I also understand if I overuse that dude, I'm going to shred his elbow. Like, it's a given trade that pitchers are throwing nastier filth than ever before, but the stress that puts on an elbow is unlike anything we've ever seen.
Well, I think that generates from all, and I am a stat nerd, it generates from us. These guys want spin rate and break. And, Greg Maddux threw 89 miles an hour, and he won, I think he's top 5 or 6 on wins all time or something. So changing speeds doesn't seem to be a thing anybody believes in anymore, which is kind of strange to me. But yeah, it's changing speeds and location. I think it's possible to have guys throwing 180 innings. I do. I think it's just changing how we think about pitching.
I don't disagree, but I would go this far, and I've had this conversation before, so I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Even when I was pitching, and I was obviously not a college caliber player, but when I was pitching, I never really had anybody like teach me how to move the ball around speed-wise. Like, it was like, here's your heater, here's how you throw a changeup. If you can make a ball curve or break or throw a slider or whatever, here's how you do that. And then you just kind of go out there and pitch. Like, I don't think we really teach pitching anymore because the kids that, when they're in middle school and high school, are very clearly going to be pitchers. Like, you can see they got gas early, and then we just teach them, here's how you throw the baseball real hard. And then, of course, you add on to the fact that I don't care if you're the best hitter in the world, hitting the ball moving 101 miles an hour is just it's a miracle to get that done. I think we're kind of right now, and I do think, and I want to ask you about the whole torpedo bat conversation in a minute, but if this thing is going to produce runs like a lot of people are theorizing it is because the Yankees hit 1,000 home runs this weekend, and we're about to see an uptick, I do think there is a space in baseball for a return of the precision pitcher, the spot pitcher. The ABS, the automatic ball strike, I'll ask you about that in a minute too, might kind of have an impact on that. But I do think we will probably at some point see a pendulum swing back toward pitchers that are more about shifts in speed and precision with where they're putting the baseball. But the last handful of years, It's been a shift towards guys that throw gas and building staffs that throw gas. Like any of your starting five can touch a hundo with the radar gun. I just kind of wonder, like, is that part of the reason we are seeing fewer guys that are going more than 122 innings a year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, but I think also if you look back, if you had a John Smoltz pitching and he's throwing gas, and then Maddox comes up, right? So when every pitcher looks the same, these are pro hitters. They're going to adjust.
Sure.
And so I do think that changing that and having guys that have different styles helps. And it's just very clear that all this spin rate stuff is blowing guys' elbows out. Like every single pitcher seems like has had Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Spencer Strider's on the bump. You got Garrett Cole out for the Yankees, which to me, granted, I may have been totally wrong because I immediately, when Garrett Cole went out, put a bet down on the Red Sox to win that division, and they are like won in all the rest of their games so far. So I don't know if that was a bad bet or if it's just a real slow start to the season for the Sox. But I wonder if over the next couple of years, because I do think I'm a college baseball guy, you are kind of starting to see with lower level college teams, which are a pipeline for MLB draft picks, more so than say the NFL. I am starting to see a few more pitchers that are a little bit more spot pitchers. They're a little bit more, I want to set you up with 2 or 3 inside heaters, and then I want to paint the outside and make you go chase whatever. I do wonder if Major League Baseball will ultimately catch up, because I agree with you that pro hitters are going to shift up. But to me, that opens the door for a guy that, maybe his heater's only 94, 95, but then he can turn around, throw a pitch that looks identical from hand to plate, but it's at 82, and you got guys looking silly. I think there's room for that in Major League Baseball. I just wonder if a team will be the first team to go, you know what? We're going to have 2 gassers, we're going to have 2 precision finesse guys, and then 1 knuckleballer for no reason.
Yeah, do something different. I mean, I think the big thing, if you look back in the steroid era, which is kind of the closest thing to now with everybody hitting crazy, right? Pedro threw heat, but what really made Pedro Martinez have those years that maybe are the greatest years any pitcher ever had, when you have a sub-2 ERA in Fenway Park and the closest earned run average to you was almost 2 runs higher, it was his changeup and the fact that his changeup could break like a curveball or a screwball. So I think that was what made Pedro Pedro. It wasn't that Pedro threw 97.
I don't disagree. And in fact, there's one guy I would add to that list that's pitching right now, and that's Paul Skeens. Like, Skeens does go 102, does go 101, 102. He can throw a splitter that'll catch you at 101. But then Paul Skeens is also a dude that can turn around and hit you with an 87-mile-an-hour changeout. When you're talking about almost a 15, 16, 17-mile-an-hour difference, and he can make it move and dance like it does. Like, Paul Skeens is winning the NL Cy Young to me this year.
Well, it seems like it's hard not to, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the dude's just unbelievable. Now, obviously, Paul Skeens is a generational talent. That's why the Pirates went and got him, and that's why they brought him up his rookie year, and that's why he was NL Rookie of the Year and all that. There's not a lot of Paul Skeens, but I think you can go find guys that maybe aren't as good as him but still have that same system and approach to pitching, and I do think we're going to see a shift back the other way. Now, the second part of this conversation that I did want to get your opinion on is these torpedo bats, because we have seen the last couple of years, strikeout rates have gone up. Contact rates have come down. And so, pendulum shift, that's what happens in sports. We're seeing guys start to adapt in different ways. Batters that are taking different strategies. Now they're going to get MIT nerds involved who are designing bats with, moving the center of mass around. So they're creating a larger contact area that has more mass to create more force. The Yankees have been nailing the baseball because of this. And I don't want to sit here and say today, because I think it's too early in the season to go, it's the torpedo bats. But Elly De La Cruz of the Reds breaks one out the next day, collects 11 bags, 7 RBIs, and 2 home runs the very first day he uses one, right? Ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, like, Elly De La Cruz is a guy who had games like that all the time last year because he's a freaking human torch around the bases. But you still got to be able to put the ball in play. What do you make of this torpedo bat? And if it does bump up offensive numbers to the point that at the end of the year we go, yes, it very clearly made a difference, is that the trigger for the shift in pitching? Because to me, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think so. 2 things. I think people have to make contact regardless of the bat.
Sure.
Right? So I think that's an important thing, right? So guys have to make contact to have slugging percentage. You have to actually put the bat on the ball. And that doesn't seem to have been emphasized. Everybody just wanted launch angle, right? So guys were striking out with that uppercut swing. I think that there are other teams that have been experimenting with versions of this torpedo bat, and we're starting to see, as people have done that photo researching like the internet will do, and there's more than one team doing it. So, the Yankees had a little success. It got a little publicized, but maybe they knew Nestor was tipping his pitches or something. Who knows? We don't, they're not going to say out loud, but.
Yeah, I mean, they did turn around. They hit 9 off of them, turn around and hit 6 the next day. Now, then they turn around last night. They go play Arizona. They get beat by Arizona because Arizona's blasting the baseball. Like, the Yankees were hitting the ball, but, not like they were over the weekend. Also, it's Yankee Stadium. It's a short porch to left. It's easier to hit home runs there, and that's kind of the added benefit. And it kind of makes me wonder, are the Yankees going to be a team that it's like, chicks dig the long ball, so we're not doing anything else?
90s Rockies.
Hell yeah. Are we going to have a team that is they're going to hit 9 home runs and score 15, or they're going to hit 0 home runs and score 1, and that's just going to be what the team is? I don't know. Again, I think that the torpedo bat sample size needs to grow till at least the All-Star break before I think we can say it does definitely or does not make a difference. But right now, especially with Major League Baseball coming down immediately and going, look, they're within the rules of the game. They're not doing anything illegal, so we're not going to make any moves on them right now. I just wonder what the response is going to be, assuming they do turn out to make a difference.
I mean, what if it increases guys' slugging percentage by 75 points or something? If you were Major League Baseball, would you outlaw the bat if it changed the game that much?
I mean, I can tell you the answer. It doesn't matter whether I do or do not. The Major League Baseball is going to say no, because anything that generates more home runs generates more eyeballs, right?
I love it.
One of the biggest fights that we've had on the show for a long time is I am not pro doing anything that gives one player a rules advantage over the other, right? But Major League Baseball forever and always has said, here's the specifications of the bat you're allowed to use. These bats are within those specifications. If you use math to give yourself an advantage, I don't have an issue. It's the NBA's issue right now with the three-point thing, right? I have pointed out that if you go look at the math, you will find out that the success rate of a long-range jumper, I'm talking a two-point shot that is 12 feet out to the three-point line, and then the current NBA conversion rate of a three-pointer, the difference between made long twos and missed threes is well overcompensated by the extra points you pick up by shooting threes instead of long twos, which is why if you look at a shot chart, up until 2015, it was a good spread across the entire inside of the arc. And now it's basically everybody's either shooting inside of the paint or outside of the three-point line. And so my question is, does the NBA adjust the rules to say, let's create a way to get the jump shot back in the game because it's just not right now? That doesn't necessarily give a rules advantage to anybody. Outlawing these bats because you just don't like that the Yankees are hitting more home runs when they have not broken a rule at all. I don't know how I feel about that yet.
Well, I think it would be more of a league thing by that point. So if at that point everybody's adopting it and guys are hitting quote unquote too much power, I don't know if that's a thing for most people, but if they were, it would be an interesting conversation to see if your guys are hitting 80 home runs or something. It'd be a conversation, right?
Here's the conversation. Did the ratings go up?
Oh, that's all they care about.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't care about steroids when McGuire and Sosa were doing their thing. They were just like, oh God, you saved baseball.
Hang around for one more segment. Talk a little more baseball.
Sure.
Stick around. Rob Young from Borderlands Comics and Games getting set up for South Carolina Comic-Con coming up this weekend at the Greenville Convention Center. We'll talk a little more baseball and get you all set up for Comic-Con when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man. How you doing, brother?
Well done, thank you, brother.
You are welcome.
Step away for just a minute, guys. Y'all stay right there for me. We'll BRB. and our guest Rob Young from Borderlands Comics and Games as we get set up for SC Comic Con this weekend. We got the voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, Mark Benetti, hanging out in the background. He's going to be joining us to talk a little bunny hockey in the next segment. I just texted him. I said, we got one more segment with Rob, and then you're up. Is that cool? And he goes, and I hope I don't get him in trouble for this, but he said, yes, sir, I'm just geeking out over Nintendo Direct on the Switch 2, so take your time. I'm a 37-year-old child. Don't worry, Benetti, I'm a 40-year-old child, and I'm about to go pick one
By
up,
the way,
too.
I just noticed that dropping, and the specs on that are amazing. I had a Switch Lite, which I shouldn't have got because the screen's too small and my eyes don't work anymore. So I may have to pick up the Switch 2.
I mean, I'm in. Hey, speaking of spending money on things that we don't need to, but absolutely want to and will spend money on, South Carolina Comic-Con this weekend at the Greenville Convention Center. I got another baseball question or two for Rob Young, but I also want to make sure we talk about this because it is one of my favorite events of the year. Not my bank accounts, but certainly one of SC Comic-Cons. I say that in the best possible way. I have gotten more stuff. I still have a personalized etched glass that says I drink and I know things from a couple of years ago because there was a young lady at this con, because you hear Comic-Con and you're thinking like, oh, comic books and video games, but like there's Ren Fair stuff and fantasy stuff and blah, blah, blah. A young lady who was etching glasses and leather covers for flask and stuff like that. And I saw a glass I saw she had a rocks glass because I'm a bourbon guy that said I drink and I know things from Game of Thrones back when that show didn't suck and have the worst ending of all time. Still an amazing show for 6 seasons. And when I bought it from her, I was like, this is awesome, big Game of Thrones guy. And she goes, let me have that back. What's your name? And then she etched my name on the back of it too, which was super dope. Awesome. Like the stuff that people show up at this con for, and we're going to talk about the guests and the events and all that, but like just the, for lack of a better term, arts and crafts that these creatively minded people show up for this event is unbelievable.
It really is. And you say that, but like one of my favorite things is I have a series of glasses that I always have people drink out of at my house. But when you're starting to finish your drink and you're looking at the bottom of the glass, it says, you have just been poisoned.
That's solid. My other one I got was
that's messed up.
That's a good one. My other one I have is a beer stein that has etched on it +5 charisma. And it's the best. It's my favorite beer glass of all time. But let's talk a little bit more. Yesterday, had the chance to interview Matt Hardy. Either this afternoon or tomorrow, going to have the chance to interview Sting because both of them, both the Hardy brothers and Sting, along with a handful of other folks, are guests at this event every year, including I don't want to say a childhood crush because still a current crush, voice actor Tara Strong, who has been the voice of Harley Quinn amongst 1,000 other well-known characters. Like the guest lineup for this year is unbelievable.
It really is crazy. My wife Michelle just murdered it trying to put this together, and it is it might be a better guest lineup than our 10th anniversary show, which seems impossible, but overall it's been really crazy. And for you guys, like Don Fry and Mark Coleman. If you like the UFC, two of the greatest legends in UFC history are going to be there. And, Mark Coleman's a legit superhero. He charged in a burning house last year, carried his parents out, and nearly died from smoke inhalation. So he's a legit superhero. It's crazy.
It is. It's wild. That story, Don Fry is a dude that, like, when I was starting to get into MMA back in the day, Don Fry was kind of end of his career, but also a dude that had built it to where the foundation was laid for guys like me to get into that, into combat sports, into MMA down the line. That's fantastic. You've got wrestling icons, and then if you want to go deep down the nerd line, like there are Hollywood caliber actors and actresses, voice actors that are going to be here. Like it's just it's an amazing lineup.
We really appreciate it, man. Yeah, Giancarlo Esposito and Vincent D'Onofrio, Superman Dean Cain, Priscilla Presley.
Vanessa.
I mean, it's pretty nuts. And then if you're a comic fan, John Romita Jr. is a legend. He'll be there. We've got Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner. You mentioned Harley Quinn. Amanda Conner is the Harley Quinn artist, kind of identified with that. So I think it's a really good show. We try to get a little bit of something for everybody. and make it as broad spectrum as we can. And I think we might have pulled it off this
I
year.
think you did. It's going to be an incredible, and all of my Dungeons and Dragons dice have been purchased at SC Comic Con for you uber nerds like me. It's an incredible event happening Saturday and Sunday at the Greenville Convention Center. If people want more information, want to buy tickets, etc., tell them where to go.
Absolutely. So you can get tickets at sccomiccon.com, or if you want the Pro Hack, if you're local guys, go to Borderlands, 410 South Pleasantburg. You can go in right now and buy your tickets, get your wristbands now at the store. If you bought tickets online or in the store previously, we're doing will call. So you can actually get your wristbands, not have to stand on the will call line at the con. And when the doors open, just walk right in. So that's the Pro Hack. Try to show up an hour early to try to get good parking, and then go to the shop and get your wristbands early so you don't have to stand in line there.
It's going to be awesome. You have the opportunity to meet and greet these celebrities. You can have the opportunity to get autographs, to take selfies with them, to get customized stuff. Like, what an incredible event. And then also buy a bunch of really cool stuff because, again, the people like the what do they call them in fantasy? Artisans are unbelievable.
I spend too much money there myself.
Yeah.
No lie.
I had a dude, I think at the con 2 years ago, who does like surrealist artwork, draw me as a as like a Captain America knockoff, and it hangs on the wall in the bro cave. And
draw you as
Yeah.
Captain.
Yes.
So he drew
like
you.
a caricature
Okay,
of me,
all right,
as like a superhero Captain
Wow,
America
that's-
knockoff.
You're such a humble guy. It's surprising that you would do such a thing.
Well, I mean, I didn't ask him to give me a six pack. He just did that.
Okay. All right.
I don't have one. Not in a long time. It's an awesome event. South Carolina Comic Con this weekend, Greenville Convention Center. Grab your tickets. Be there. I will be there on Sunday. Lonzo's just going to go ahead and I believe has a cot set up in the back room.
We did. He asked for bunk beds. I thought that was weird, but we've got them set up.
Well, you got to have Pappy there too. What's the world without
Have to
Pappy?
have Pappy.
Yeah. I honestly,
That means I'm on the top bunk again. Oh, well.
Going to be an incredible event. Make sure you're there, you bunch of nerds and MMA and wrestling fans, because, again, if you missed it, friggin' Sting is going to be there. Here, wrestling question before we get back to baseball if we have the time. We always thought Mount Rushmore is like, who's your Mount? And it's always, it's Flair and it's Hogan and yada, yada, yada. I have made the argument for years, Sting deserves to be on that because if you go importance to wrestling, if you talk about cultural important significance additions to wrestling, for the longest time, especially during the whole NWO era, WCW, WWF era, etc., Sting was arguably as big of a household name as Hulk Hogan was. And so for me, cultural impact and addition to professional wrestling, to me, Sting's on the Mount Rushmore.
I think he is, and I think one of the things that you have to look back and kind of think about the whole big picture. Without Sting, is the NWO as big as it was? It's big.
Yeah, it's big.
But without that foil, right? Because they never lost to anybody.
Yeah,
right,
because
for a long
they
time.
had such a long run of not just losing, but like it got to the point where there were more NWO members than not NWO members. And even as a kid, because that was like middle school era for me, as a kid, it almost got to a point where it was kind of a boring shtick because it's like everybody worth a damn is in the NWO. And then one day out of nowhere, this guy drops out of the ceiling with a baseball bat, black and white paint. And it's like, oh, that's the dude that used to have a fade bleach blonde with red and yellow and hot pink and lime green face paint. And no, now he's Sting. Now he's this crow looking guy.
Now he's the crow, right?
And it was such a, like I said, it was at that moment that I think a lot of us, especially as kids, kind of got the kick in the teeth of like, oh, we really have been rooting for the bad guys the whole time, right? And then here comes this guy who goes, he's the good guy, but also he's a total badass. And like wrestling had a bunch of good guys, but they were all kind of cheesy hokey. And here comes this first dude that like, he will hit you in the mouth with a baseball bat, but he's also the good guy. It kind of started to feel real at that point in time.
It did. I mean, having that edge and you're a good guy. Look at Stone Cold. Look at The Rock and how they went back and forth. Really, really changed that industry. And I think Sting, I agree with you. He's on the Mount Rushmore. I don't even think there's a question. I mean, I can tell you by looking at pre-sales for him, he's only there 3 hours on Sunday. It's 11 to 2, and then it's a hard line out. He's got a flight. It's pretty crazy. I think he'll set a record for for most money made probably by a wrestler at our show. It's going to be a madhouse for everybody trying to get through.
No doubt. And, oh, by the way, one of the last times Sting's going to show up in face paint.
This is the last year he's going to be in costume and face paint. Yep.
Yeah. So if you want a selfie, if you want an autograph from the icon, do the Shivani, Lonzo.
I'm not doing it.
I
Again,
can't get him to do this thing.
Friend of the show. I'm not going to disrespect friend of the show, Tony Schiavone. Not going to do that.
All right, that's fair. I respect that. He will be there. The Hardy brothers will be there along with the cast and crew. Again, tickets are available now. Rob Young, our guest from Borderlands Comics and Games, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. My man, great to see you, brother. Appreciate you coming by, big dog.
Thanks for having me on, and go Dodgers.
Just finish the switch. Just put us away mercilessly. Will you score 50 in the first inning so I can go to bed?
I would actually like them to go ahead and lose because
no,
I want my guys to lose. We can't go undefeated the whole time. Too much pressure.
That's fine. But if you if the Braves beat you tonight, I got to come in here tomorrow with a bunch of Braves fans who are going to be like, "See, Rob, I told you." No, we're 1-6. Relax. We stink.
You're not going to stink. You're going to be good. Now, as long as you can keep the steroid stuff out of the
oh
God,
God,
it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good
4
game.
games. We paid you $42 million. You gave me. South Carolina Comic-Con this weekend, Greenville Convention Center. Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joins us next to talk a little Bunnies hockey on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, right back while we set up Benetti. Marcus Benetti, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being patient, partner. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're all good. Thanks for your flexibility, man. Today was kind of ridiculous.
I told you. I told Lonzo during the break, the best thing about media is living on a soft schedule.
Oh, yeah.
The next person in media who's on time will be the first person in media who's on time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Yummy.
Pal.
Buddy. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of the Rob Brown Show goes now. It is the fan upstate. Now, ordinarily, we don't put guests in the last segment of the show. Mark Bonetti gets his own special treatment. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of your, my, our Greenville Swamp Rabbits, unfortunately, moving ever rapidly towards the end of the ECHL hockey season. Fortunately, got a couple of really, really, really good games coming up this weekend and some fantastic theme nights to talk about that and all things Swamp Rabbits hockey. The voice of the squad himself, Mark Bonetti. What's up, big dog?
Just, like you said, unfortunately, counting down the days, 6 games to go starting tonight, 4 games and 5 nights with overnight travel to your absolute favorite place in the entire United States of America. So it's a little bittersweet that we're getting here, but we still have a lot of exciting things to build towards both on and off the ice. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, but you got to go to Jacksonville. You're not excited about that. Be honest. That place sucks.
I mean, look, there's hockey there, so I guess it could be worse, but
not much.
All
Not
right,
much.
listen, I need to, since I've never been there, is it really that bad, Mark? I mean, because I get he had some bad experiences there. He did.
Look,
There's heartbreak involved. So
yeah, I mean, look, I see exactly all the points that he has. Thankfully for me, all I have to deal with is a dinner spot every now and then, the hotel and the rink. So I don't have the grand scope that Robert J. Brown over here does. So I don't know. But I can see from just peeking out the window some of the things that he's talking about.
There's nothing. Yeah, there's 1 square mile of Jacksonville beach that's worth anything and literally nothing else. There's a hockey rink, 3 bars on Jacksonville Beach, and that outside of that, Mark Bonetti, you're the best thing about Jacksonville when you're there.
Wow, that's okay.
And that's more about Jacksonville than you, and I like you.
I appreciate that.
Mark Bonetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the fan upstate. All right, man, let's jump in a little bit. Obviously, the unfortunate part, the Greenville Swamp Rabbits eliminated from the ECHL playoff chase, and there's a whole sequence of events kicked into action because of that. Listen, I've told people a couple of times. On one hand, yeah, it's a bummer. This team's been on a playoff run. This team expected to go into the playoffs again this year. This team's got a bunch of talent. I also remind people, this team's in one of the most stacked hockey leagues that you could possibly be in. In the 5 years I've been here and covering this team, a lot of good hockey teams have missed the ECHL playoffs. It just happens to be this year, happened to be our turn.
Yeah, I mean, look, the biggest thing that I'll tell people is that last year, the South Carolina Stingrays, who are probably going to win the regular season championship this year, with about a 20-something point increase in the standings, missed the playoffs with 85 points. Now, you look at our division right now, and this year, Orlando's got 6 games to go. But let's just assume for right now, because they've clinched a spot, they lose all 6 of those games, they're going to get in with 78, because that's what they've got right now. South Carolina had 85 last year, and they missed out. 86 this year, if you're Jacksonville, gets you 3rd place in the division, and it looks like they're going to hold on to that. There's still some math to work out what the final seeding is going to be, but that just shows you how stacked this division is. Even more so, looking at the standings right now, out of the top 8 teams in the conference, every playoff team from our division is 7th or best, including 3 in the top 4 of the entire Eastern Conference. So, I mean, look, yeah, it's a wagon of a division. It's super tough, and that's why I beat a dead horse when I say there's no nights off in the South.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a number of times. Like, it's just night in, night out, this team's playing teams that are going to the ECHL playoffs and are threats to win it. Like, not just going, but are genuine threats to win the Cup as a whole at large. Let's talk then about the down the stretch, because since the elimination a 5-3 win over Atlanta, a 7-4 win over Atlanta on the road. And there's a lot, as we mentioned, it kind of kicks into gear a series of events. It's guys getting called up to Ontario. It's guys getting reassigned to other teams that have made the playoffs so they can get playoff experience as players. It's signing young guys coming up out of college to their first pro contract to come finish out the year on the roster. It is a mindset with figuring out who's going to make this roster for next year and who's maybe towards the end of it, etc. Just kind of give me the 36,000-foot view of the 2 or 3 biggest developments since Greenville was eliminated.
Well, for starters, I think it's getting a look at some of this new talent. And now the new talent, even those that have been here prior to that elimination, are really starting to find their groove. You know, Jack Brackett's coming off of back-to-back 1-goal, 1-assist nights. Ryan O'Hara gets his first pro goal. Dustin Garagach has 10 points in a dozen games on the back end. Career high 3 points in the 7-4 win against Atlanta. Went +5, got his first pro goal too. Matthias Scholl gets his first pro win in net on Saturday. The night before, Pierce Charleston finally gets his. Arguments could be made that his first pro win should have come well before that, but at the end of the day, it happened. And that's all that matters for us right now. So, you know, the development is there. And the fact that we're identifying talent that's starting to seamlessly transition into this lineup of guys that have been here since day one, of guys that have been here for a couple of months, is huge. So that just speaks to both the scouting of Coach Mountain and Coach Dauda, but also the energy that these guys provide. And I talked with Coach Mountain about it last week, and he structures his practices very rigorously, and he structures them with intention. And so I ask him all the time, whether it's a focus thing, how do you structure around focus? If it's execution, how do you build better execution? And he's got something for every situation. What is interesting to me is energy and tempo and being intentional on the ice. And so I ask him, how do you set that up? And he's got drills that do just that. But now he's got a natural infusion of that energy. And it's guys who have wanted their entire lives to turn professional, and now they get the chance to do it. And I think they're taking the moment, they're seizing it, and they're making guys who have been here since day one, who might be a little run down from the season, because it happens to everybody in every profession, right? That's not calling anybody out. But guys that have been doing this for a long time that see that young, wide-eyed view of it, and now they go, okay, this is why I'm playing this game. And now they're starting to come out with their performance as well.
How big would it be? Got a game tonight, 7:05, puck hits ice against the Jacksonville Icemen on the road at Jacksonville on Friday, back home over the weekend to take on Atlanta. Talk to me a little bit about what it would mean for this team to put together a little bit of a dub streak to wrap up the year and carry that into the offseason.
Well, it's big for a number of reasons. Obviously, confidence breeds positivity. Positivity breeds long-term development, right? I mean, that's the case in everything. But these guys still have something to fight for. You know, Jacksonville doesn't want to be third. They can catch Florida in second. Now, granted, they need some help, and they're already in the bracket right now, but Jacksonville could still fight for home ice advantage. So that's big. It's not completely locked up yet, but South Carolina can win a regular season championship. We play them Sunday, so there's some spoiler to be played possibly for that. Atlanta is in the same boat as us, wanting to build for the future and try to take care of business there. So you can prove that our development is better than theirs. There's still so much more than just 2 points on the line here. And then you look even further to next week, Orlando still has a chance to catch Jacksonville, change their playoff matchup. They probably won't get home ice, but you know, maybe there's a better matchup against Florida than there is against South Carolina. So there's still a lot on the line for these guys to play for, even though they're in the bracket. And you know, to play spoiler, there's something to be said for that. There's something for these guys to play for. And then there's the usual, if our team, you know, starts signing guys here and there, or Ontario signs a guy and assigns him here to start their pro career before they start their Calder Cup playoff run in a couple of weeks, there's the development aspect of how can we ingrain the right way to play for these guys? Are they a true building block? Are they a piece? Do we see a future with them? And then you go from there with it.
Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Let's talk very briefly about tonight's game. You got Jacksonville at the crib. It is the last time that the Icemen will be here in the upstate of South Carolina. You go on the road Friday, back home against Atlanta, South Carolina. You were talking about, and then next Friday on the road at Orlando. You were talking about four different opponents in 5 games, both home and on the road. Talk to me a little bit for a hockey team, especially with a bunch of new guys that are on their first pro contract, maybe only 2-3 games deep at this point. What impact does it have to have 4 opponents in 5 games, some on the road, some at home, to have that variety both in terms of teams you're playing, style of hockey, environments you're playing in, etc.? How does that impact their development as they get ready to hopefully make it back to a pro roster next year?
So there's a number of different ways to look at it. First and foremost, the volume of games itself in a short amount of time is a huge challenge. You know, especially guys coming from college, you're playing twice a week. You're playing a Friday, Saturday, you're playing a Saturday, Sunday, but more often than not, it's a Friday, Saturday. It's against the same team. You don't have overnight travel. It's very rare you do a home and home in college unless the school is an hour away or a 30-minute drive down the street. So there's something there. That's a welcome to the pros moment, because these guys aren't used to that many games in such a quick amount of time with travel. And then the degree of difficulty of outside of Atlanta, every game you're playing this week's against the team that's in the playoffs. Granted, 2 of them are against the same one, but the point stands. You're playing against 3 different playoff situations there. So there's something to be said for that. I think it also challenges you as a player. You know, players are also selling themselves too. So yeah, there's a recruiting process for Coach Mountain and Coach Dowda, but the player, whether they have an agent or they're representing themselves, they want to show that they can hang and that it was the right decision to bring them here as a building block for the future. So now this is a moment where you get to prove that in one of the toughest stretches you've ever played hockey in. I think the last time these guys probably played a 3-3 was maybe in a conference tournament, because they play 3-game series if it gets our best of 3s, depending on what conference you play in. So yeah, I mean, this is a chance to show, okay, I'm built for the pro game. I can adjust quickly. I can adjust to a different environment, a different skill set, and a different playing style and a system, but also develop and learn quickly in this one. So there's a lot to really look at it from a development side of things, but ultimately it's hey, every weekend is pretty much going to be this. You're going to have 3-3. You might have 4-5. In some crazy extenuating circumstances, you'll have 5 and 6. So this is a moment for, if you're bought into the pro game, this is a real gut check for that, because this is not the only 4 and 5 you're going to play in. Even if you play for us next year, you're still going to have 3-3 with overnight travel and whatnot. So there's a lot to really unpack with it.
The Greenville Swamp Rabbits at home tonight against the Jacksonville Icemen. The puck hits the ice at 7:05. On the road Friday, back home Saturday against Atlanta, and then Sunday afternoon. And I'm actually pretty pumped about Saturday, Kings night. Get to celebrate the affiliation with the LA Kings, who are a damn good hockey team, by the way, and also that West Coast IPA ain't no joke, Mark Bonetti.
I still haven't had it. I had it in my fridge, and then we used it as a prop, and then we used it for a player taste test, and that was it. I lost it. Granted, I let everybody else have a chance with it, but I would very much
screwed up, buddy.
Like to try this. But listen, my generosity killed me there. I'm doing the best I can, but
stop doing that.
Well, I mean, listen, we're all trying.
Good news is we all get to try it together on Saturday for Kings Night. Looking forward to it. Mark Bonetti, the voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, my man. Great to talk to you, buddy. Hey, see you tonight at the well, pal.
Yes, sir. You got it.
Done and done. Mark Bonetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, it is time for What the X, where I tell Rob what is trending on X, and he will let us know why.
Is Mark Bonetti trending it?
Not yet,
Shocking.
but it's a little early. Val Kilmer is trending.
Val Kilmer trending because Iceman
Dude, you don't know.
has passed away.
Okay.
I do know. I saw it last night.
Right.
I was setting up the dramatic reading there. No, Val Kilmer, aka Batman, aka Iceman, aka 100 other phenomenal roles passing away last night. Obviously, I've been dealing with health issues for a very, very long time. I have been saying your mouth is writing checks your body can't cash for a very long time because of Val Kilmer. Also, kicking people in the face for a very long time because of Val Kilmer. What a legend, what an icon. R.I.P. to one of the greats. Also, you can say whatever you want. Val Kilmer made a half-decent Batman.
He did, but I loved him as Mad Mardigan in Willow and as Chris Knight in Real Genius, something that if you haven't seen, you should check it out. He's the cool nerd that you've always wanted to be in Real Genius.
I mean, the cool nerd that I am.
Well, even more so than you, surprisingly.
Fair
All right,
enough.
the next thing person, place
You can do this.
that is Xing is Pedro Pascal.
Who is not passed away.
No, don't do that.
Pedro Pascal is Xing. Is it connected to? Let's start with this. Is it connected to Fantastic Four?
No, but it is his birthday.
Oh, okay. Here's what I know.
Wait, how old do you think he is?
Pedro Pascal?
Yes.
52.
He's 50.
Okay.
Good
I was in
job.
the ballpark.
Good job.
Here's what I do know about Pedro Pascal. Also, Val Kilmer in The Saint. That's the movie I was trying to think of. The Saint's an incredible movie.
He's in a lot of movies that
He's in
people
a lot
just
of really good
forget,
movies,
including
yeah.
like The Doors.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yes. Okay, so Pedro Pascal. Here's all I'm going to say about Pedro Pascal. My wife would leave me for Pedro Pascal. I don't blame her for it.
Why? I mean,
I don't get it.
yeah.
Because, like, he's not, I don't know if it's the charisma, the aura. I'll tell you what I think it is.
He's trying to catch up with a bunch of other actors by being in every single stinking thing that's out there.
I think it is because Pedro Pascal isn't like that, like, super over the top charismatic guy. He just seems like a guy who just kind of like wants to act, and then he's just a really cool guy. He is outspoken about certain issues and topics that are important to a lot of people. And he's not a bad looking guy. He's just an average looking dude to me. But I got real mad yesterday because I know that my wife would leave me for Pedro Pascal, and I know I'm not even mad at her for it. But I'm watching TV yesterday, and there's a commercial for a particular product where Pedro Pascal is now dancing
Yeah,
in the street.
He's dancing.
And I'm like, Pedro, you can't have everything, dude. Like, you can't do it. Can you just...
I was like, wait, is that Pedro Pascal dancing?
Yeah.
Dude is everywhere.
And he's not bad at it.
No, he's
Like, you
not.
can't have everything, Pedro.
All right, the next thing that is Xing is Tony Khan.
Is it because of the promo? It's got to be because of the promo. Is it because of the promo? It's got to be because of the promo.
Fumbled.
Okay.
Tony fumbled.
Yeah, Ricky Starks, a.k.a. Ricky Saint,
All right.
wins your NXT North American Championship last night and is super. In fairness, everybody at NXT is over. All right, that's the benefit
Dude,
of
it's
wrestling
a
in that
really
place.
good show.
I've
And,
heard it's a really good show. I've
yeah.
heard it's a really good match that they had last night. I agree
By
for
the
the
way,
record.
that's the only match I haven't watched. I watched everything up until that point. Then I had to do this thing called Come to Work, and I
Because
could
of the
watch
way of a
last night.
social
but I fell
life.
asleep. Yeah, no.
I agree. I think Ricky Saint when he was Ricky Starks at AEW and he first showed up and dropping promos, I'm like, this kid's going to be an absolute star. And I do believe that. And this is part of the issue I'm having with AEW right now is there's a long list of fumbles that are starting to build up, and those fumbles are showing up and making a difference elsewhere, which is going to end up killing them. And also, John Cena just smoking Tony Khan with a stray
All
during
those
his
things
promo off.
we will address in some detail tomorrow in the Fight Club.
Ain't no doubt.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of wrestlers, finally the last thing, Hulk Hogan.
I just had a Iron Sheik quote about Hulk Hogan run through my head, and it made me laugh.
All right. Let me just say, in the interest of time, he is Xing because of Bret Hart. And Bret Hart said that Bret Hart was on Ariel Helwani. I haven't watched it yet, but I think I will. It looks like it's going to be a good interview. He said Hulk Hogan said that Bret Hart actually believes he's the best in the world. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And Bret's like, yeah.
You think he just walked around saying that for funsies?
What's your point?
Yeah.
I think he said that's the truest thing Hulk Hogan's ever said.
Fair enough. Hey, that's it for us. Come back tomorrow. Rashad Beard, unfortunately, not going to be able to make it this week, so we'll get with him next week. But we do have Lulu Kesson tomorrow. We do have Hayden Asamario tomorrow. We do have Fight Club with the great Lanza tomorrow, and whatever else.
Pal.
Buddy, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Off State. Later.
I know I probably shouldn't say, this is going to be a good old-fashioned ass whooping.
He really does believe he was it. Yes, that's why I said it for all those years. Incredible.
So it's not just a clever catchphrase.
Yeah, of course he meant it. What do you think? What do you think? He didn't meant it? Oh, Lord. All right, we got to go. Thanks for being here, people. You're all amazing. Tell your friends about us. Alonzo and I are trying to retire. Because we want to, not because we're made to. Let's be clear. Y'all have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.